What's good, world? It's your boy Brandon P.
Yo, what's up? This is Beacon Light.
Yo, what up? This is Derek Miner.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Brandon.
Yo, this is George Rose.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Miles Mannequin. You are tuned in to Oxen Brand Music. Let's glow.
Let's glow. Let's go. What up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Mix Mondays. Why is this man, look at that. You just done ruined my intro here. Like what is going on? Let's try this again. I don't know why Stream Deck just messes up sometimes. I'm not sure. Just kind of reprograms itself. But that's what I get for being too comfortable being back. That's what it is. I'm so excited to be back with you guys. It's been a minute. I enjoyed my cruise that I was on. For those of you guys who tune in regularly or watch the playback, that's where we were. So we took a Monday off, but we here and we ready to glow, as Senor Miles Minnick would say. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, what up? My name is DJ Integrity. Welcome to Mix Mondays, hosted and powered by Oxen Brand Music. And we're going to keep it strong here. Unofficially sponsored by Chick-fil-A Sweet Tea, so I always say, which is, just you're one sip away, or what do I always say? Joy. Unofficially sponsored by Chick-fil-A Sweet Tea, where all your joy is just one sip away. There we go. Bam. That's what it is. Now they got a little thing, because normally it says you're the best part of today, and I just looked at this just right now, and it says sip smiling away. What is that? I don't even know. Sip smiling away. I don't know what that is. But Corazon is in the chat. What up? What up, Chica? It's so good to see you in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys did not know, we do have some Spotify playlists for you guys. We've got our Smooth Vibes. We got our Crate Diggers, which with the Crate Diggers, we just updated with our guests, one of our guests' songs that he's just been dropping left and right, like a man who ate too many tacos and spicy salsa. I don't know. So you just let them run out, right? Just one after another. So for our workout people, we guys got you there as well. Oxen Strong into Bakari 116 in the building. Bro, Zach, congratulations on your wedding that you're about to have this Saturday that I just found out 30 seconds before going on air. Congrats to you and to your bride-to-be. So also, we got you for our rock people. I have not updated this because, honestly, I don't really know much rock. But I will say this list specifically, I really enjoy it. So hopefully you guys do as well. Lo-fi people, we got you guys covered. And, of course, the brand new one, Praise Bops. That's got a couple different vibes for the most part, but it's got some of our like Christian R&B, lo-fi-ish type songs that they're more of praise. I wouldn't say necessarily worship-y, but just tune into it. Okay, check it out. Also, if you are tuning in live on Twitch, make sure that you guys subscribe on our YouTube to our YouTube, where we do post these interviews and they stay up there. And then also there's sometimes that we do podcasts exclusively on YouTube and not on Twitch at all. So make sure you guys keep it locked there. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is so good to be able to have white people in your life that just make you feel good on the inside about who you are and about what you do. And it just keeps Latinos like me having a job when I pair up with this white man that I love with all my heart, Mr. Abell Cole, a.k.a. White Chocolate. What up, baby?
White Chocolate.
What up,
Wow. All right. I don't know if I've ever been called White Chocolate before.
You did so good keeping yourself. I thought you were going to say something.
That was nice, Yeah. I had something prepared until I heard White Chocolate, and then I was like, I'll just receive it.
Yes, receive that. All right, I'm taller than him, but I'm slouched down a little bit more.
You gotta have posture. You You don't have a pillow though. I got a nice pillow behind my back. It's-
Nah, the pillow makes me like belly. Like I already got the dad bod starting to really grow, bro. I had to go to the doctor's office today. And I can tell you off air or whatever. But
Okay.
Well, real quick, I messed up my knee on my cruise. All right, it was the first day, like first full day at sea. Right, so we got on the boat Friday, Saturday played volleyball. That's not where I heard it. I imitated this girl who, you know, like how soccer players when they got the ball on their foot and they like flip it up and then like do this little hook thingy, right? So we're playing volleyball. She's a soccer player. The ball kind of bounced in a weird way, and so she did one of those things. And so I was kind of like, oh, this ain't soccer, whatever, right? Did it first time, and nothing happened. It was all good. Her parents, and now she was at least 26, 27, whatever. She's older, so she was there with the family cruise. But anyways, her dad said the same things, like, oh, this is not soccer. And I was like, yeah, it's not soccer. And I did it again. And then my knee went just something. I had no idea what it was.
Oh,
right?
man.
Bro, that happened on a Saturday. And it wasn't until Friday night that I was able to walk, like, correctly. Now, I walked and did some stuff or whatever. But, yeah, anyways. So
That's what you get, though.
Bro, I even told my doctor. I said, I don't try to, like, be funny. But every time I have ever tried to be funny, it has always gone wrong.
Yeah.
Rather, I've said something hurtful, stupid, whatever, or I've done something physically or broken something because of it. So
I can actually envision you doing it, though, which is what's even funnier for me is you doing it and then it popping.
Bro.
I can see it. That's
Now,
why.
To be fair, though, I was able to not only finish, but then I didn't know right after open play they were going to do a tournament. And so we did a tournament, and then my team won, and we got T-shirts after that.
Oh, nice.
So it was not worth it.
I wish
but
you and I could win a T-shirt playing volleyball together.
yeah.
It's never happened. It's sad. I'm sorry.
We're not off the rails.
Here's the thing. We haven't seen each other in months.
Yeah.
It's probably been months.
Yeah.
Several.
I mean, I came up real quick
To altitude.
To altitude.
Yeah. I mean, like we had like
Just
a
so
brief
so.
like
Yeah.
hour maybe.
Yep.
And there was a lot of trying to catch up.
Yeah, and for context, like normally when we have a conversation, it's like at least 3 hours
Yeah.
or so, and like maybe 30 minutes. I'm
I
talking.
think we did a phone call, but we haven't been in the same room.
Right.
Except maybe for an hour in like months.
Yeah.
So this is you guys are gonna get a lot of catching up
Nish said-
side rail conversations.
and we're stuck seeing the reunion.
Hey, you tuned in. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
You
So,
tuned in.
Well, hey, for anybody who has not heard of Senor White Chocolate, could you give them a little quick background as to who you are?
Yeah. So you can Spotify White Chocolate if you want. It won't be me. Yeah, but I've been doing music for 15 years. Woo! And I'm only 30, so that's crazy to think about. But I've had the honor and the pleasure to do music for 15 years, all of which have all been Christian. I'm thankful for that as well. And so I've done ministry for a good 10 to 12 outside of that, with traveling, speaking, youth pastoring, being involved in the church. So I'm a ministry-minded dude. I'm married, 7 years married, and our first boy, or our first child altogether, but we're having a son on the way here in July. So lots of change,
Congratulations.
lots of new, but yeah, things are good. Things are good.
That's dope. That's dope, man. I'm happy for you.
There it is. There it is.
There it is. I missed. I thought I hit it. Anyways, yeah, man. No, I'm happy. I'm happy that you and your wife have healthy, functional sexual organs.
Thank you.
That not only work for efficiency, but for life consuming as well.
Yes.
So
That was a very polite way to put all that. So thank you.
AKA, I'm excited about you becoming a father. So
Thank you. I appreciate it.
yes,
Can confirm.
can confirm.
White Chocolate is not him.
Oh,
He's him.
he's him.
He's him. It's just not me.
Okay, so we're going to get to some of the ranting that you were doing right before we got on air, and I said, okay, hey, we gotta get this on air because of the stuff you were saying. So if you guys, and I know time zones and all that, whatever, but like if you guys got some time, y'all gonna have to stick around a little bit more towards the end. Okay, we're not gonna get crazy or whatever, but so we're gonna be talking about your possible favorite Christian rapper. We're gonna be talking about your possible favorite preacher.
Ooh.
And maybe some issues there. And actually your possibly back in the 90s favorite TV star. I just saw an Instagram post right before we went on air, and I was like, I'm gonna get Cole's thoughts on this.
There's a lot of things we could talk about, buddy.
Yeah,
there's lots of things.
Yes,
wherever you want to go.
Yeah,
I will go there with you.
But yeah, and this is why our friendship gets along so well, because we're literally the friends of, you ain't got to ask something, you just, hey man, I gotta take care of somebody real fast. All right, cool, let me get the keys.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, cool. So what I would like to do, all right, because obviously we've had you on the show a couple times, and this is catch up as well. So you've had a lot of major changes going on in your life. One of which is that you and your wife are expecting, and so that's been a shift as well. I think, I think the last time we had you on here, you were not the panel discussion, the panel discussion, but before that, you were still youth pastor at your church, and so you had, I don't even think you.
We had just announced transition, I think.
Yes.
Of that. So yeah. It's been a while.
Jeez. Yeah. So it's been a minute in terms of, podcast life or whatever. So, real quick, just kind of like tell us, and again, we've hardly really communicated, so I know some of it, but just give us kind of like a brief, whirlwind of life storms that you got going on. What is it like? First off, let's do it this way. I'll help guide this like I'm supposed to as the host. What has it been like really sitting with the fact that you're not youth pastoring anymore?
Oof.
And you don't have that burden to have to stay at your local, not to say that you don't serve your local church, but that you don't have to stay at your local church in the sense of, I can't travel, I can't do anything because I got to make sure I'm shepherding these people. So how's that transition been for you?
It's hard in some aspects, because I was the guy that thought that I would be a youth pastor until I'm 60. Like I just saw myself, Cole's plan, I saw myself doing it, forever. Yeah. And so in that aspect, it's been hard, because of our transition. Our church made the decision for our pastors to focus on the youth now. Mm-hmm. And so we're not doing Wednesday night Bible study. We do it once a month. We do this thing called First Wednesdays, and it's a regular church service. It's an hour long. We do like a dinner beforehand that you can come to, and it's great. We love First Wednesdays. We look forward to it. But now I don't go to church on Wednesday nights. And that's, for me and my wife, it's the weirdest thing, because for all 7 years of our marriage, we've gone to church on Wednesday night. Wow. We've usually led something, but we're used to that midweek, like pick me up. So on the one hand, it's hard because we're not there, like physically, as much, which is different. But in other aspects, it's so, I'm at such peace though too. You know what I mean? Because obedience brings that. So like,
that's good.
It's been great to release it and see that everything's fine. Like sometimes we can get kind of high on ourselves, whether it be ministry, jobs, whatever leadership role or position you're in, to think, well, wow, they won't survive without me, or like this. What are they going to do without me? And not that my pastors were my youth pastors. I know that they were great. Yeah. So, but I never wanted to put them in a position to feel like they had to do it. And so I really struggled with like stepping down, saying, okay, well, who's going to do it if we don't? Like I don't want to do that to my pastors. I don't know who. So that was a real struggle. And then a young couple stepped up and started helping them. Hey. And, then this couple starts helping here. And so it's really cool to see our church grow, and I think it happened not just with mine, but with several people in our church's obedience to step out, step in, step up, step down. Being obedient to God, saying, "Hey, we're transitioning. We're moving pieces around."
Yes.
And knowing that, it's okay that you're not doing this.
Sometimes our unwillingness to get out of the way somebody's willingness
Yeah.
to step into what God has called them.
Which I've tried to always be like mindful of, right?
Mhm.
Like that I'm not taking somebody else's mission, like
Mhm.
or what God has for them, because I can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think, especially in your small church setup, I think we can get really guilty of wearing too many hats and not knowing when to take that hat off.
Cool.
And,
Yes, sir.
And being like, okay, it's okay now. Like,
Yep.
we're above water. We're good. Like, there was a season there where, like I needed to wear all these hats.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But now, like, we're good. Like, there's plenty of people to pass out hats to, and allowed them the opportunity, one, to fail, and be okay with saying, okay, well, I would have never have let that happen. Cool. Well, you were prepared. You have been here, done that.
Right.
You've gone down this road, but they haven't.
Yeah.
And so, if anything, you can be there now as a resource and be like, hey, let me help you, but not overstep and say, hey, do it exactly how I say.
The
to do it.
micromanaging comes out of nowhere.
So it's really cool because our church is in such a great place for growth. Doesn't mean it doesn't have its challenges, and I think everyone will face those, but it's been super cool from the youth pastor side of it to let that go. And then also, again, challenging from the other aspect of when we stepped down, we didn't know we were pregnant. When we stepped down, we didn't know there was going to be these other life transitions happening in the year of 2024 either.
Yeah.
So, Cole's mind, again, Cole's plan.
Yep.
Man,
Cole's plan.
we're about to book hundreds of events. I'm gonna be preaching everywhere and anywhere, and all this stuff. And 2024 has been really quiet.
Yeah.
In a good way. And I say intentional. I'm not booking, but I'm also not booking. Does that make sense? I'm good either way. If a door opens and I'm able to do it, great. I want to.
Yep.
But also, if I can't, it's the first time ever, I think, in ministry where I've been okay with just saying no.
Wow.
And not feeling guilty, like, well, Cole, maybe you're the one that has the message, or no, like, I'm okay. Like, if it fits, it fits, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And
so,
being okay with that.
That's not so okay. So that's good. So that's beautiful. And obviously, as a friend, I've been able to see that transition for you as well, and
right.
Have seen that burden come off. Come off of you, and you turn into a whole new person. Definitely way more relaxed, and you are for a while you were getting very high strung.
Yeah.
And my personality is like, hey, bro, like you're doing too much, man. It's okay.
Right.
So whatever. So,
right.
But so for you. So you had the struggle of feeling like if it's not me, then who else?
Yeah.
Then you had the struggle of finding your kind of new identity within your own church because you didn't have that midweek thing. And then you're coming out on the other side and going, okay, it's been really good. I have peace because I don't have to take everything. And if I do, then cool. So what would you say to somebody who they're still in that? Like, could you kind of quickly take yourself back into, man, if I knew what I knew now during that moment, what would you have said to somebody?
I'll say this. Every situation is unique.
Yeah.
Ministry is it's not a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Every situation's unique, and I definitely have had my challenges. It's not been just like God said it, I'm doing it. There's been arguments. And there's been
like arguing with God, arguing with your wife.
Definitely arguing with God about like, all right. And every Bible account you can find, there's usually one of these conversations between the character in that story and I the person in that story and God, and it's like, I don't understand. I don't get why I'm doing this. I don't, understand it all. And so it's definitely had its struggles. I've talked to a few ministers that I trusted in, and I say this in a very like loving, respectful way because I love my pastor.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're stepping out of a role
Mm-hmm.
at your church, it's hard to go to your pastor who loves you too and doesn't want you to go and expect there not to be at least a small sense of like, come on, you can stay. Like, and so he's honestly, our pastors have been great. They've given us so much grace to operate and figure things out in this season and have been real prayerful towards us. But like, there's been a few ministers that I'll go to and I'll be like, hey, this is what I'm going through. And they're like, that's a new one. That's a new one for me. Like, I've never been there. And so it's really hard to give advice, I'll say, as like it's just generic advice. What I will say is this, is that if God's nudging you to do something, just be obedient. Because if you don't, you're prolonging not only your own story, not only your own calling, not only your own things that God has you to do, but you're also prolonging everybody else attached to it. And
yes, sir.
Like that's something I had to realize again. Like, I've had these scenarios in my life before where I'm like, okay, I'm in the way. Like, I need to remove myself and allow someone else to step in. But here it was different because this was where I went to church. This is where I went to youth group. This is home church. We don't, and everywhere else we left. When we stepped out, we stepped out, like we left.
Yeah.
Here we're staying. So it's like, how do we hand this off? How do we transition without that being awkward? How do we make sure the students know that we love them, that there's not a single student that feels like, well, why don't they want to be our youth pastors? Why don't they love us? Or, like, making sure that the enemy had no footholds to get in. Yeah. And that's hard. Yeah. That's hard because the enemy will try anywhere to kind of to sneak his way in. So I would just say, if God said it, do it. And navigate the bumps as they come. Find, if it's your head pastor, if it's a pastoral friend or someone in ministry that you trust, that they can give you sound wisdom, they can point you back to the word, that they'll pray with you. Like, we didn't let a lot of people know when we were going through this for specific reasons. Like, we didn't want the outside opinions. We didn't want people who, maybe we love, but we don't necessarily trust them completely spiritually to speak into our lives, to just be like, well, if it were me, like, no, I don't want that, dog. Like, I want to know, what is God telling me? I want someone who's going to pray and help me seek out the answer together. That's good. And so very few people, you knew about some of the transition, Evan, there was a small circle that I could let in and be like, hey, this is what's truly going on. Yeah. Some of it's hard, some of it's frustrating, some of it's good and it's great and it's awesome. Yeah. And just navigating that and navigating emotions too, because emotions will rob you a lot of times too. It really bothered me that they were cool with us stepping down, or it really bothered me, and they weren't. They were like, "Are you sure?" Like, But like, just one of those things where, like, how people respond, if you're not careful, your emotions will rob you too. Yeah. And it's not even the enemy; it's your own self-harm that you're doing to yourself, of getting yourself in your feelings. Yeah. And being like, well, maybe I missed it. Yeah. No, you're sad, you're upset, you didn't miss it. These things are hard. Transition's not always happy. Transition has different moods that come with it. You've got to navigate the emotions still, because God said it, I'm supposed to go. And it actually, it takes me back to when you look at Lot and his wife, when they told him, hey, it's time to leave. It's time to leave Sodom and Gomorrah. And she was salty. No pun intended.
Very nice.
But she was salty, and because of her feelings, she got stuck. Yeah. And ended up being turned into a pillar of salt. Like, I think that's representation today, is that if we allow ourselves to get salty, if we allow ourselves to get into our emotions, we can get stuck in a place that we're not supposed to be. And that's been really big for me, of like, okay, we got to navigate the emotions, and we got to get back to, what did God say to do, though? So,
amen. That's a good take. I like that. You guys could see his pastoral side come out just like that. Yeah, man. No, that's cool. So, okay. So, you've also had transition because again, so you thought you're going to be a pastor all your life,
Yeah.
and so you had a life transition in the ministry side of things, because you were going to step down from music, and then it's like, oh no, God's telling me
Yeah.
no, I'm actually stepping down from this. So
Yeah.
so you had those, but then also here recent another kind of whirlwind of what you've done forever and
Yeah.
then what you're now into. Give the audience kind of a quick rundown because I don't know if you've ever really gone into it, but you have been affiliated with trampoline parks,
Yeah.
such as like Sky Zone, Altitude, and just other things that you've done. So give us a kind of a quick background as to like how long you've been doing it. First off, how you even got into it,
Yeah.
and then just kind of the transition that God has taken you even to your current job as well.
Yeah, never underestimate small beginnings because, like, I never thought that what I did in 2017 would lead to what I'm doing now. And so in 2017, Ashley and I, we'd only been married 3 months,
Yeah.
4 months. We took our first youth pastor position, and we moved here. I was on the payroll part-time at the church, doing full-time ministry, though. So, but you got to pay the bills. My wife was still a college student. Her doing schooling and trying to work was a little much for her. It really affected her. And being so young, she moved away from home or 5 hours away from everything she's ever known. So I wanted to take that load off of her. So I was like, okay, well, I gotta work. I gotta supply in a way that I can be the sole breadwinner and she can just focus on school.
Yeah.
And she got a part-time job. She party hosted on the weekend and stuff, but for the most part, it was all on me.
Yeah.
So I was at the church. I was looking for jobs, though, that would allow me to be in the community, that would allow me to build relationships. I was youth pastoring, so I was thinking more students. Like, how can I get around the most students possible?
Yeah. Yep.
And so I ended up, I'd been in the shoe industry for a long time. I was working part-time at a shoe store already. But I was like, I still need more. So I went and I just applied at Sky Zone. It was brand new, hadn't been there very long. I walked in, I applied for a court monitor. They actually almost didn't hire me because I was overqualified for the position. And I was like, but I don't want to be anything more. Like, I can't, like, I want something stress-free. I want to be able to just walk in, clock in, do my job, clock out, go home, be chill, like nothing stressful. And so, like, court monitor is like lifeguarding with some customer service. Like, it's just right up my alley. So I went and did it, met some great people there, built some great relationships. But, like, every 3 months, an opportunity would come along where they're like, hey, Cole, you want to promote?
Yeah.
And so it went from, like, court monitor to maintenance manager, from maintenance manager to assistant manager, from assistant manager to store manager or general manager. And it's like, I never planned this. This was never what I wanted to do. I didn't really want more responsibility.
Right.
But again, I was faithful. I did my job. I did things in excellence. And so God rewards that. And you see that with different people. Again, it counts in the Bible. You look at Daniel and just time over and time over again where God elevates him.
Yeah.
And so I just was faithful with that. And, before I became a GM for them, the pandemic hit. And so I was assistant general manager at one location. The pandemic hit in the state of Illinois. It was a year and a half later.
Yeah.
Before trampoline parks opened.
And that's tough too, because obviously, coaching gymnastics and everything else is kind of the same field, and your hours are already kind of dictated because of the fact that you're waiting for youth.
Yeah.
Typically, to be there, and so then you get that, and it's like, dang, I already didn't have a whole lot.
And you were given a false hope because we're like, well, we'll be back open in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah,
and then it was like, oh, we'll be back open in a month. And then so like I'm loyal, so like I didn't want to go get another job. I'm also a hard worker. I didn't want to be on unemployment. I didn't want to.
I remember this struggle.
You know what I mean? Like I
remember
didn't like that I was sitting at home. It's weird.
I had no problem, ladies and gentlemen.
It's weird, but I was like,
I
don't like that I'm sitting at home.
Yeah,
collecting a check and doing nothing for it. I liked what I did.
Technically, you did something for it because we pay into it.
That's true. But you get my point.
Yeah,
It's like I didn't like sitting at home and feeling like I'm not doing anything. And of course, I found things to do with my time, but besides the point. And so when we came back from the pandemic, I went to a different location, became a GM. I learned a ton in a very short amount of time, and then I got burned out. And I think what happened was I kind of realized I went as far as I could ever go.
Yeah.
And once I hit that, and I think a lot of people will hit that, is once you've gone as far as you can go, if you're like me, I need growth. I need to know what's my next step. I need a growth path. I don't like staying where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, you definitely have been a kind of like what's in your next 5 years kind of person. Like that's the way that you think.
And if I can't see it, then I struggle with that. And so didn't see it. I felt like I was wasting my time. So I quit. And around this time, DoorDash was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, so
shout out DoorDash. I hopped on that.
Well, I mean, you were actually my inspiration to do it, because you were making good money doing it during the pandemic. I was like, wait a minute, I want to do ministry. I want to like travel and be freed up and not feel like I got to request off and do all this stuff. So I DoorDashed for like 2.5 years. Yeah. And I just quit my job and I made enough money, and that was a great season of life, and I learned a lot in that season. I kind of learned how to be my own boss and how to strategically set my schedule up without having someone looking over saying, are you not going to work today? Are you not? So fast forward, you know, Ash and I knew we wanted to start having kids. I knew DoorDash was not going to be something that would suffice for something like that. And so I walked into Altitude and had this experience, was, again, not expecting to be a GM for them, not expecting for them to hand me the keys and say, here you go. Yeah. I was more like, I'll do whatever. I just need a job right now. I just need something. And so I walked in, and fun fact, I walked in, I worked 2 days, and I quit because it was in such rough shape. Yeah. It was more than what I wanted to sign up for. I'm going to be real. Like, I did not want to do it.
Well, it kind of almost puts you back in that Sky Zone thing where it's like, hey, I'm just trying to come in and get something here, and there's going to be more, and I don't want to do more.
It felt like there was going to be me giving more than what I was going to get out of it. Yeah. And that was the struggle for me. But the owner, or who I was explained to was the owner at the time, she was a believer. She really encouraged me, and I could tell that and we're still friends to this day. Oh, like, I could tell that I needed to stay. Yeah. It's just, and I don't know if it was for me. I think it was for her. And so I've helped fix the store, helped get it back to where it needed to be. And then we got to that conversation of, okay, but what's the long-term plan here? What am I building towards? Yep. You know, and just, there was nothing. There was no plan. And so I kind of got to a place, and I was like, okay, well, I don't see myself doing this for 30 years. And long story short, I've realized now I've always worked jobs and I never found a career. And that was like where I was struggling. I kept maintaining a job thinking that it could be a career, but it wasn't. And so I was like, okay, well, I gotta figure out, what does Cole want to do for the next 20, 30 years of his life? You know, what is going to be the money-making part for my family? What is going to be the providing thing?
I think I want to quickly camp on that just real quick, because you know, you saying something in such a way where you know, you're saying I worked jobs, but I was looking for a career, and I think that is a good, and you can switch up the verbiage to fit whatever needs, but I think that's a good take as to how some people are, where they're struggling with their purpose, right? When they're struggling with their purpose, and it's like, I don't know what to do and where to go, and it's just like, just what you said, and especially because of hanging out with you, you get kind of, not that you get preachy, but you can turn anything, you know, into a sermon. Right. I think that's a good take, where it's just like, man, I bet you there are people who are, you know, listening right now or watching replay or whatever, where it's like your disgruntled nature that you have, your I don't know why I'm irritated. I don't know why I can't celebrate other people's wins as much as I would like to be. Yeah. It might have something to do with the fact that you are constantly going from job to job or situation to situation, and you're not in that career. You're not into something that, people throw around the word calling. We all have a calling, and that's to make disciples, right?
Yeah.
That's the main call. But your assignment,
Yeah.
right? Your assignment. The reason why most people are frustrated with their life and the way things are going, financially, relationally, whatever, oftentimes is because they are searching for their assignment and they don't know what their assignment is. So instead, they've been assigned, aka getting jobs or taking whatever's in front of them. They've been assigned things for so long that you get in this little cog. You just get in this, mouse wheel here that goes around and around, and you on that running, and then you finally, for a person like you, you're like, yo, I've been running this thing. Where the heck am I going?
Yeah.
Not many people hit that until much later, or they feel that, and then they just go, well, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, you get trapped. And, out of the pandemic, I think that's where the wake-up call really came.
Yeah.
Because I did the DoorDash thing, and I loved it. When I say I loved it, I loved it. It was probably the first time in a long time. There was a season where I worked for Foot Locker, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have traded anything for it. And then that season ended. And, you could tell it ended. It just instantly, my passion left for that.
Yeah.
Sky Zone, same thing. Absolutely loved it. And then that season ended, and it ended abruptly.
Yeah.
I was done.
I remember that.
Altitude. I even loved it at the beginning of it. And then, but even quicker, ended abruptly. And in between there were other jobs that I did where I had the same sense of feeling a lot quicker than others.
Yeah.
But it was like, I've been here, done that. I don't want to just hold a position.
Yeah.
I want to have purpose in what I'm doing. I want to love what I'm doing. And what really encouraged me is no job or no career comes without problems, issues, frustrations. So you got to be careful not to get yourself, and this isn't anything, to get yourself so used to being frustrated that you are still frustrated when the good thing comes. You know what I mean? So it's so easy even right now with this new position that I'm in to find the frustration and be like, oh, maybe I missed it. What am I doing? No, I absolutely love what I'm doing, but there's going to be frustrations. And so my wife really encouraged me because my wife's a teacher. She doesn't get paid well. There's no other incentives other than if you do it because you love it.
Yeah.
And she gets frustrated every day. She deals with kids. But my wife's an amazing teacher, and she found what she's good at, and she could see herself doing this, and until the day that she doesn't feel like it anymore, I'm going to encourage her to keep pursuing and pushing that. And so this new position, it's not an easy one, especially for my wife, because I travel more. I'm hybrid remote. I got to be on the road, and I got to position myself to make those connections and build those relationships. But she was so supportive because she's like, but this is the perfect role for you. And this is a career. And this is something that has growth path beyond growth paths. It's not just, well, there's one more level and then you're right back to where you were again. There's so much growth opportunities there that I'm excited. Not to mention, it's a prayer answered. Yeah. If you know me, I've been praying for a hybrid remote position.
Yes, you have.
For 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to obedience. This role, I don't think would have presented itself had I not been obedient and stepped out of youth pastoring. And that's where I'm like, okay, I'm starting now. 2024 has been a very intentionally quiet year, I think, on God's side of things with me, because he's just setting me up. And he's just positioning me for what I know is to come in years to come, as far as everything. Being an involved parent, being an involved husband, because those are the most important aspects to focus on first and foremost. Still being able to be involved in church, having a strong career, being able to provide for my family financially, and still being able to go and do ministry in a form and in a fashion that I'm happy with.
Amen. That's good. That's good. Alex, we appreciate you tuning in. Get your son to bed. Shout out to you for popping in. Yeah, bro. So what you just said right there, and hopefully you guys caught that. God's quiet does not mean it's a no.
Yeah.
God's non-responding to prayers does not mean that he is not working
Yeah.
on your behalf, that he's not setting some stuff up, that he's not maybe pruning you on some things that you didn't even know until you sat down. I mean, you're talking about the pandemic. Like, many of us didn't realize how much we didn't like ourselves until we had to deal with nothing but ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. Or the relationships and everything else. And
Yeah.
so, that I think that's just a good point for, and hopefully a good word for somebody,
Yeah.
to hear that, hey, you're praying, you're believing that God's going to come through a certain way for a certain thing, and it's just not happening. But and as a friend, and seeing your life, and you've already said it a couple times, the testament to what you've done is you've continued to be obedient in whatever season God has put you in, even if I think it's for too long, but that's just me. And you still continue to do everything in excellence. So there's many times where we talked and you were very frustrated, and somebody could take that same frustration and be like, well, forget it. I ain't going to clock in, until the last second, or, hey, I'm clocked out. I ain't talking to nobody or whatever. And that's with church and everything else. You had so many times where in flesh, everybody would go, hey, I can't fault Cole for acting that way.
Yeah.
I'd 100% do the same thing. But instead, your obedience and your willingness to continue to serve and continue to do what God's asked you to do, and to do it in excellence no matter what, no matter how frustrated you are, God blesses that.
Yeah.
And when I say God blesses that, for those who are listening, God's blessing does not equate to you getting what it is that you want.
Yeah.
God's blessing could
That's
look at
facts.
something like for you where it was just peace.
Yeah.
Like, God blessed that to give you peace in certain things, because you fought for peace, where it's like, hey, listen, like, I know right now I'm in the storm and it's very unpeaceful, but I don't feel like I have a peace to release from wherever I am.
Right.
But then once you did, I saw the immediate peace and just understanding of like, okay, this is weird. It's a weird space. It's like swimming, bro, just coming out of the ocean. It's like swimming in the ocean where you're like, okay, I'm out here. I have no idea what is around me, but like, I still feel like I'm safe right now. Like,
Right.
I'm in an okay space, but I'm still in a space where I'm very dependent on God. So me seeing you do that, it just speaks volume to your character and your desire to serve God and serve people.
Yeah.
That's essentially everything that I've ever seen you be a part of. Because it's not always been about finances with you. Like, even though, yes, you want some financial things or whatever, you've wanted to make an impact. So yes,
Yeah.
you want a career, but it wasn't a career just so you could put your money, in your
Yeah.
pockets. It was a career for a purpose that you could then invest into other people that you're
Yeah.
working with, or those who are working for you or whatever. So
Yeah, still is. I'm super excited that my job does provide in a way that I believe will open doors for me, not just to have a nice 401k and all these things to fall back on, but to be, because I want to be able to provide for my family. I want to be able to provide nice things.
yeah,
A safe home, a nice home, good vehicles. Like that's as a man in my house that provides and leads my family, I want them to have the absolute best.
yeah,
In the same manner, I'm not stingy. I'm not greedy. I'm very simplistic. Once that's taken care of, I want to be able to invest back into my church and say, oh, there's a need. I want to cover that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, this person
Yeah.
over here has a need. I had the opportunity to preach here recently, and kind of that Good Samaritan thing. I want to be able to see that person on the side of the road who's struggling and not think, oh, they're just pretending to get something. Why do I care?
right,
All this stuff's expendable. Like, it's not going with me. So whether I waste it or not, it's not me. I'm going to be obedient. If God told me to stop, doesn't matter if their intentions were good or bad at that point. I'm about to be Jesus right now. I'm about to go and be what God called me to be, and that's the hands and the feet. So that's where my mindset's been, is like, God, open a door so that I can have more to be more. And that's been the heart's desire here recently.
It's beautiful, bro. It's beautiful. So on top of all the different things that you got going on, the new stuff as well, came along some new music as well. So And here's the thing, like you haven't really said that yet, but like during all the ups and downs and twists and turns and the what ifs and frustrations and all that, and the potential of, hey, I'm gonna stop doing music.
Yeah.
Even during all of that, you still were doing music, or it was still in your mind some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, and so you still kept doing it. And so again, back to the transition of when you kind of felt lost and it was just like, I don't know what place I should be. We've had that discussion before, in CHH. I don't see my role. I don't know where I'm at, whatever. Trying to find your voice. You keep getting told, hey, you should rap like this, do this, look like this, whatever. And you're like, hey, that's not like me. So you had all of that. You were still doing music. Then you felt like, okay, I'm going to step out of music. Then you obviously continue with music and
Yeah.
so I say that all to say that during all of this transitions that you're talking about, you're still doing music, and just recently you've been dropping one single after another. Each of them have a story, and I want to get into it. But before we get into specific songs, tell me how have you been able to stay in a creative mindset while all of this transition is going on, or did you have to just shelf it completely?
I think I had to get back to why I started doing it in the first place. And, 15-year-old Cole went to music not because he thought that I didn't even know Christian rap existed. You know what I mean? Like, I knew DC Talk and Kirk Franklin. Like, those were the two people I had, like, that's all I knew.
Right.
And a little Gospel Gangsters, but that was it. Like,
hey, shout out to Gospel Gangsters. Come on now.
But that was it.
Some
Like,
OGs,
I
yeah.
didn't, as I got into it, I got more into Flame and Lecrae and other people.
Yeah.
But I went to writing as a release. It was supposed to be an avenue to just get thoughts out. And, I always tell people, just a little side, nugget for you. When it comes to gifts, you may not know your gift until you try something. Like, I didn't know I could rap until I rapped. Like, it wasn't like I just grew up rapping. It was always something I had. Like, no, I had no idea that it was something I could do. I was a choir boy. I was a band geek. I played sports. Like, none of this was on my radar ever.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up saying I want to be, white chocolate. You know what I mean? Like I didn't. And so, I went, there was a release for me. My parents were going through a divorce at that age. I was very unconfident in who I was, very, just insecure in a lot of ways. I had ran away from God. And so, it's kind of me running back because I had grown up in church. And so just a lot of things. So going through all of this transition and stuff and feeling lost for the first time in 14 years at this point, I hadn't wrote music just to, not consistently, wrote music that was just for Cole. I didn't care if it was trendy. I didn't care if the beat was in style. I didn't care to get the hottest name on it, which there are features and, whatever. But a lot of what's been dropping has just been authentically Cole saying, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm going through. The punk music helped a ton.
Yeah.
Because I got out of the genre that put so much pressure on me.
Yeah.
And made me feel like I was never going to make it. And so I stepped out of it and stepped into somewhere else where I could release, where no one's going to have this opinion. No one's going to be like, well, Cole, that's not CHH enough, or that's not hip hop enough, or that's not. No, it's just like, I've never heard you do anything like that. Like, this is great.
Yep. I know I was a big fanboy of it. I told you right away. As soon as I heard it, I was like, bro, you should have never rapped.
and that's what's funny is like there's other people that are like, man, I still like your rap stuff too, or I like that more too.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about, is Cole good at punk music or
Right.
or it was just like, here it's safe. Like, here I don't have to care if anyone's gonna like it or not, because I've never done it, and it's not a genre that I thought I would even consider doing.
Yeah.
It was just for Cole.
Now, do you feel like that happened when you did your project? I was trying to pull it up, so you have to forgive me that I forgot. But the project with the smiley faces.
Oh, yes, Emotionless.
Emotionless. Do you feel like that was a turning point for you? Because there were some songs on there that I felt like you were I felt, I could be wrong, but I felt like Emotionless was kind of like starting to rev up to, I don't really care. I'm just gonna do what I want to do, because you had a certain set of emotions that you wanted to convey,
Yeah.
and you didn't really care if it was the sound that was happening.
I think Emotionless was definitely a project where I let loose and I didn't care. It was the first time I ever recorded something by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'd always relied on the label early on when I was, with Rebirth Entertainment. They recorded everything for me. They coached me. They, not that it was processed. There was still freedoms, but I was definitely going with their vibe and kind of trying to fit in instead of being who I wanted to be. And so for the first time in a long time, I found Cole again just in the studio.
Yeah.
And was able to produce that. And then once I dropped it, the pressure came back.
Yeah.
Because then it was like, all right, that was cool, but it's kind of corny. Or that was cool, but you got to be making music like this, or people aren't going to vibe with that.
Wow.
Or and it wasn't one person. It's just how the world has just got critics. You know what I mean? Like you're never going to be able to get everybody on your side. Even your favorite Christian rapper has people who don't like them.
Yeah,
And-
shout out to Lecrae.
You know what I mean?
If anybody still has that mindset where it's just like, man, like, I don't know why I got so many haters. I'm doing this for God, whatever. She's like, yo, if Lecrae has not been the poster boy
Yeah.
of trying to walk this out in the public's eye, and no matter what he does, right or wrong to anybody, there's always a camp who are like, forget Lecrae.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like we all just like you can sit there and you can know your music's good.
Yeah.
And there's still going to be someone that's like, but I don't like that.
Yep.
Like I don't vibe with that. And it may not be because it's you. It could be the genre. It could be like, I'll be honest with you. My wife makes fun of me all the time. She doesn't like when I sing, she says I'm too nasally.
Mhm.
So like she doesn't always like the singing more stuff that I do, or she struggles because my wife gets to hear it raw and uncut and unmixed and mastered. And so she'll be like, just let me hear it once it's mastered. Like, right now I'm
Give me the finished
struggling.
project.
I'm struggling to hear it in its fullness because it's not done.
Yeah.
And so, I think a lot of people, they want everyone to vibe with it. And then the Christian market adds that added pressure too. It's like, well, everyone should like because it's about God.
Yeah.
It's got that Christian, that vibe to it. So, it's definitely been one of those things where like I felt the pressure. Emotionless was definitely a start of feeling that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But then, went back to the pressure of like, okay, well, I got to make this track
Yeah.
and I got to do this song and then I could never find my footing. And
Yeah.
I always felt like I was trying to, well, I'm going to make a song like what this person just did because it got streams and people like that song. So I'm going to try to do, I'm not stealing it or cheat, but I want a beat like that. Or
Yeah.
I want a concept where like it's deep. Like for me, like sushi is a concept for me that like it has such a cool meaning that people vibe with. I got to have 10 more sushis. Like I got to have 10 more songs that just, one of Social Club has a Kuji sweater.
Yep.
I loved when they explained that song live. I was like, oh, like this song's even more dope than just how cool I thought it sounded.
Yeah.
So like I wanted 10 more of those. I wanted it to be like double entendres and meetings, and I was just way overthinking it always, every song. And it got to a place where I wouldn't drop any music. I was like, no,
Yep.
no, too cheesy, too corny. This person's not going to like it. I can't get a good feature, and it's like, why do I care? Like,
Yeah.
why do I care at all? I don't like, and I really never have, but I allowed so many opinions
Yeah.
to get in. And then it went to, well, if you want to increase your reach, you got to have people who want to hear you.
Right.
So then you got to make music that people, and I'm like, I finally just got to a place where I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like, I'm good if all I ever do is the same 5 events
Yeah.
for the rest of my life, I'm good. Because I know at those 5 events, they're going to authentically receive what I have
Yeah.
to offer. And so I just had to let go of feeling like every event is mine, like every opportunity is mine.
Yeah.
Every song has to be a Rapzilla, instant post and wanting to be accepted by the community. I'm at a place now where I'm like, I'm good if I never get accepted by the community. I'm good if so and so doesn't know my name.
Yeah.
I'm good. You know, I'm so beyond features and feeling like, you know, there are great features. I'm not saying don't do them. I'm not saying that they're not fruitful, but I'm so beyond just getting someone on there just to say I had that name on my song.
Yeah.
I so desire to have more of a friendship with you than I do a song with you. And unfortunately, that's just the toxicity of the community sometimes, is you just don't get that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that was another like struggle that I faced, is I wanted people to be like, Cole's dope. Even if I don't vibe with his music like that, he's dope. And I want to connect with him. And I just never received that, which fed right back into, gosh, CHH, what do I got to do for you to love me? Like, what do I got to do for you to want to let me in and be a part, even if I'm not what you do?
You know, and I think that's so interesting that you said all that. So, Philly Cheese in the chat. What's good, bro? What's good? It's good to see you in here. Been a minute. Yeah. So that's so good that you said that, because it's something that everybody knows but still struggles with, which is, you know, don't focus on those who don't see your vision or don't appreciate what you do or whatnot. Focus more on those who actually do. And it just and it doesn't matter to what size a platform somebody could have, because someone could think to themselves, well, yeah, but if I had 1.5 million followers, then I wouldn't care for the one or two comments, you know, or prospectively, let's say there's 1,000 comments and there's only 10 bad ones.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, I wouldn't really care if there's like, you know, 10% of people who didn't whatever. It's like, no, because even those people still are only worried about that. So can you quickly, before we get into playing some of your songs, can you quickly kind of just touch on, if someone is struggling with that, right, knowing that you were struggling with that, how does somebody overcome that? They know I should not be focusing on the negativity that's going on in my life. Rather, it's indirect or direct, self-inflicted, because let's be honest, people do that as well, or not. How would you encourage somebody to go from a position of where they're only focusing on those who oppose them, their problems, the situations? They got this almost Ecclesiastics kind of vibes of like, the world is meaningless, everything is meaningless, and then helping somebody shift their eyes to, well, what about the people who are rocking with you? What about the people who do love you? Like, how would you encourage somebody in that?
Yeah, well, first off, understanding that you can only control what's in your control. So what's in your control, your words, your actions, your thoughts, like that's what's in your control. I can't control what everyone's going to say about me. I can't control what everyone's going to do towards me or think about me. So how do you change your words, your thoughts, your actions? Well, it all starts piece by piece. The Bible says that faith comes by hearing, and hearing of the word of God. Well, that means I got to get into the word. I got to get myself in the position to hear the word, because if I get it in here, it affects here and it comes out of here. So it's that mindset of like, for my words to change, my thoughts have to change. For my thoughts to change, my heart has to change. And for my heart to change, I got to get the word in there. And so but that's hard. Yeah. But it's hard to do that. You know, it's easier said than done. You know, a lot of people don't want the churchy answer, but sometimes it's the right answer. Yeah. And it just means, you know, he told us this is a narrow path. The Bible tells us this is a narrow path and very few will be able to walk it. By no means am I perfect. Yeah. I still have my days where I'm like, man, I just wish so-and-so would hit my DMs and be like, Cole, you're dope. You know, I wish more people shared my content. I wish more people, you know, I wish my streams on Spotify were the same amount as this person's streams. Yeah. Comparisons, it's a very divisive tool that the enemy uses to get you out of position of what God's still telling you to do.
And that comparison, it takes your eyes. You stop seeing yourself through the lens of God. Yeah. Through the lens of the word. Yeah. Right? And you're constantly comparing. It's like you're trying, and it's like wearing sunglasses on the inside, right? you're trying to wear sunglasses on the inside. It's not even a bright room or whatever, but you constantly keep trying to put on all these glasses that's like, oh, well, this person looks cool in this, or this person's doing this, and this person's doing that. And so you're like constantly doing that. And guys, like, if you would just take the mugs off and just look through the eyes that I've given you and that I see you in, man, like you could find that joy and that peace.
And again, knowing your calling, like I had to accept the fact that I'm not Lecrae, all right? I'm not, and I don't want to be. But like, I don't believe that my calling is to be at the same level and platform that he's at. And I'm okay with that now.
Bro.
Like allowing yourself to just be okay with my platform's not their platform, and that's fine. I always kind of think about it like this. Not that this is just how Cole thinks. Not that there's any biblical backing to this.
Right.
But when I think about the 12 disciples, somebody had a lesser role.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Like somebody
Yeah.
was the janitor of the group. Okay. Not to hate on any janitors. You a janitor, you rock. All right. Because that's an important role. But like somebody had a lesser role viewed by others.
Yep.
And so like, but without one of those, that whole thing doesn't work. That whole dynamic, someone's gonna have to do more, or they're gonna be lacking somewhere, or whatever. So I think of it like this: if God's called me to do CHH, or if God's called me to youth ministry, or if God's called me to whatever it is that He's called me to, there's going to be an elite. There's going to be someone who's setting the benchmark and doing this. But in my situation, Lecrae is never going to be able to reach the students that I get to build a personal connection with. He doesn't have the time or the ability. His calling, his platform doesn't make room for that, and that's okay, right? It's a different thing. Without him, it wouldn't even made way for someone like me to do what I'm doing. So it's being okay with your calling and knowing that, hey, just because I'm not, if you're a pastor, just because you're not a Stephen Furtick or a insert your big name, Michael Todd, big name preacher here, doesn't mean that your calling's less. Your calling's somewhere else though, and just being okay with that. So like I look forward, we have a camp coming up in Oklahoma. I look forward to that. That's 400 something teens that Lecrae isn't gonna ever more than likely speak to,
right?
Or Andy or any of these other people. They're never going to have that one-on-one connection with that student. And I've got to have students hug on their neck and just tell them God loves you and pray with them and encourage them and build them up in a way that somebody else will never do.
Yeah.
And not in a mean way. It's not that they wouldn't want to.
Right.
But it's just that's not where their calling's going to be.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think those artists kind of miss those days.
Oh,
I think
for sure,
I
bro.
think
They talk about it.
Are big name artists that are out there that miss, and they try to be intentional. I love Colton Dixon. He's one of them where I've seen him. He doesn't go to his merch table. He stands and prays at where he's at. I've seen Zonti do that. I've seen people try to be as connecting as they can, but they still miss out. They still, we talked about it the first year we did camp. Like, how many artists do you know who would spend the whole week?
Yeah.
Even though they only did one concert.
Yep.
How many could really put that kind of time aside? We can. God's opened that door. He's made that available.
Yep.
But not everybody's going to get to do that.
No. That's
so
good.
it's. I would encourage you to just be okay with where God has you and stop comparing or stop putting yourself on a weigh-in system of like, okay, well, so-and-so's doing this. So for me to be successful, I have to do it at this level too. No, you're doing it at this level too. Just for you, like excellence in where you're not, excellence in where you're at, not where the benchmark is.
Yeah.
And that's what helped me is, okay, I'm just going to be as best as I can be is for what Cole does.
Yep.
And as long as I'm doing that, God honors that. He rewards that because I'm being faithful to what he told me to do.
Amen, bro. Amen. No, that's so good. And one of the things that I really, really, really appreciate my church, my pastor, and his wife, because I produced the podcast here for them, and when they're talking about, they had some questions that were being asked, and so they were answering, and one of them was like, the generic, why another church or whatever, right? Because they're a church plant, and his wife just in her own way just hit it on the head, where she's like, so is your church, this town has got 20,000 people or whatever. Is your church going to be able to pasture 20,000 people? No, so it is understanding that whatever you have been given, you ought to serve that as faithfully as possible. Obviously, even here, when I started streaming, I never streamed for the numbers, right? However, just like anything else, it's like, okay, but I also don't want to waste my time,
Yeah.
right? So I'm going to go ahead and look at some of these analytics, try to figure out how can I get this out. And so for a little while, especially because it's brand new and every artist under the sun always wants to post about themselves or about something, whatever, gaining a lot of different traction. But then I felt myself being a little too concerned about that. And then I never struggle necessarily with comparison. I think you kind of know that about me as well. I don't really care if you like me or not. And at the same time, I'm cocky enough, right? I'm confident enough where if you do something, I'm like, I can actually do that a whole lot better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and get at it and do it. And when I started noticing that I cared a little bit too much about that, I cared a lot less about what God had given me.
Yeah.
And so that coming to that understanding of like, you know what, let me just take care of what I have, because that's what I started noticing. I started noticing I wasn't really serving the ones I actually had. And I started becoming more and more disconnected with them, trying to get others involved with things that I was having to go get them. So it's kind of like for music artists, like you are trying to go and get a certain audience to like you and appreciate you when you had people already there appreciating you for exactly what you bring.
It's relatability. And like, again, going back to churches, not every church's pastor can relate to every single person the same way.
Yeah.
My pastor's not for everybody.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. When I think about music, a lot of these artists, they talk about coming up out of the mud and their struggle. My mud was different. I can't relate to all that. I didn't come out of the hood like that. I didn't have those struggles the same way. My struggles were different. I'm going to relate to the person who's going through a divorce right now, who had insecurity issues, who didn't believe in themselves. Like, I'm going to encourage and relate to a way different audience than somebody else is going to. Yeah. And no wonder why I'm not connecting with this audience. It's because they don't relate to me. Yep. Not in a mean way, but you hang out with and you connect with what you know. You know, it's that like-mindedness. And so I think sometimes, again, we get in this bubble of, well, Christianity or Christ should make us all like-minded. That's true, but our experiences are still different. Yeah. And, I mean, why do you think the apostle – we have the same story written 4 different ways in the Bible. I don't know about you, but I might relate to Matthew and you might relate to John. Mm-hmm. It's just it's how things are portrayed, and that's okay. Yeah. And so relatability, I think, plays a huge role into it as well. Yeah. Yeah. So –
that's good, bro. That's good. So I wanted to, and I should have had this queued up before we started streaming. So I wanted to go ahead and play a couple of the new records that you've got.
Let's do it.
And so I'm gonna, because obviously my producer is upstairs and hopefully getting ready for bed right now. But so I'm gonna go ahead and pull up Spotify on the computer there. What song would you like to first get into? That way I can go ahead and do that. And then so let me know the song. I'll pull it up. And then also,
how many we got time for? How many are you trying to do?
Well, we're not gonna play the whole song.
Okay.
We're not gonna play the whole song. So
let's do the 3. Let's do all 3. And let's just do them in order. So let's start with Mannequin.
Okay. You mean you aren't prepared? Haha. What does that mean? What does that mean? Look, I do very well prepared. Yes. Do you have to do it all on the back end? Yes, and that is why I love you. So, okay. So what would be the first one? Mannequin.
Let's start with Mannequin.
All right, let me pull that up.
I kind of intentionally dropped these in a certain way. So
look at that camera and tell them.
Tell them about what I dropped.
Yep.
All right. So Mannequin. Well, let me backtrack and say, again, speaking to the past. I got to a place where I was just doing music for Cole for the first time in a long time, just releasing what felt natural. And a lot of, from now until like midsummer, I have a track releasing every 2 weeks. And a lot of them, especially these first 4 or 5 that are dropping, are kind of I didn't intend to do an album, so I wasn't really aiming that way, but they were all just fitting so well together as far as where I was at and what I was going through. And so Mannequin really discusses how I felt so stuck, especially in the CHH room, how I felt so stuck. Like I had to dress a certain kind of way. I had to talk a certain kind of way. My approach to social media, my approach to how I reached out to people had to be a certain kind of way. And I just felt so processed at a point that I was just a mannequin sitting there letting everybody else adjust how I look and what I do and how I do it, to the point that I didn't feel authentically me anymore at all. And when I would go and do events, I felt like I had to put on this persona of, well, this is what they want to see and this is what they want to hear. And I didn't feel like me anymore. And so, the hook says, I'm so stuck, I feel like a mannequin. Oh God, I just want to be me again. And so the whole song just talks about struggling with being fake and wanting to get back to who Cole is authentically.
Okay, cool. So we're going to... All right, so I'm going to try to do this from far away here. So we're going to go ahead and get into the Oxen Brand Spotlight portion, where we get a chance to hear the song, and then you let me know if you can hear it. And then audience, I'm sorry if this first song comes in really loud, because I didn't have this queued up. So we'll try it out. That bass.
I'm tired of being fake, tired of other flakes. They say it's give and take, but the more I give, the more they take away. Yeah, they want me to change. Don't you go against the grain. Most of y'all wanna talk so critical, and if I make it, they gon' say it's a miracle. Oh, you ain't heard of Cole? That's weird. Yeah, I'm breaking through the mold. Listen, I just wanna be me. I got the dad bod like you wouldn't believe. I wear the shorts that go down to the knee. I'm making music for the people who just wanna be free. I'ma break the mold, I'ma shock the system. No stopping, yeah, I'm on a mission. I'ma get the game, the player is the mission. To be the change, I gotta be different. I'm so stuck, got me feeling like a mannequin. I'm so stuck, got me feeling like a mannequin. I'm so stuck, got me feeling like a mannequin. Oh God, I just wanna be me again.
All right, so that was Mannequin, bro. That was good. I definitely enjoyed. First off, that low end. Now, granted, I probably could have put it in our ears a little bit better, but I'm like, whoa, this thing is strong. But yeah, I love the intensity of that song, man. I love the intensity of the song. And you've always been really intentional with your lyrics too. So, and just like many other artists, it's like once they get a chance to explain their songs and whatnot, whatever, and you're like, I like that song. You know, like even if you were unsure about the song, then it's just like, let me listen to the lyrics again. Then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
That's why I always like doing, these kind of things or whatever. So Mannequin dropped. How long did you even let it out before you went to the next one?
It's 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks I'm dropping it.
Every 2 weeks, bro. Yeah.
Till like June.
And that's a rant where I go, you give people time to digest, but it's just like, but nobody digests.
At this point I'm like, they'll listen for like a week and then like I'll ask like, hey, have you heard that? Yeah, I listened to it when it came out.
Yeah.
And I was good, and
then I moved on.
I was like, oh, okay. I was hoping to make like a playlist or, it would cycle back through, digest it a couple times, at least. But yeah, so I'm at a point where I'm like, no one knows me or cares at this point.
Nope.
So let's just put out.
Why not?
Let's just put it all out.
Okay. So next one up was No Offense.
Yeah.
So I know there's backstory to that. So go ahead and.
Yeah, well, No Offense. One, shout out to all the people that made that dream a reality.
Yeah.
Because in multiple ways. So I'd always wanted to do a song with OB producing, and you know me, it's not the money that's the problem. It's the fact that I don't have it that's the problem. All right. So, and I'm never going to be the guy that asks you to give me a discount. All right. I believe in what you're doing. And so OB had these already produced tracks with a top 5 artist of mine. You know, it was on my top 5 list of people I would always want to do a song with, and had a couple songs that were in the catalog. And the one I wanted, actually, I didn't get, which was kind of a bummer. I was right there negotiating down to the wire with this other artist, and I just was a little late. Yeah. But this one was kind of my runner-up, and I was like, okay, well, I want to do it. So I didn't have the money, and so I just was like, okay, well, what's the harm in asking? What's the harm in putting it out there? So I put it out on social media. Hey, I have this opportunity to do a song with Marty from Social Club Misfits. He's a top 5 for me. I've always wanted to do a song with him, and to do a song where Obi produced it, and it would be Everything's Mine. I own every aspect of that song, and that was exciting for me. And so,
wait, real quick, as your DJ, do you have the instrumental? Or do you have the actual?
Every stem,
and you
buddy.
have not give me a
I'm sorry.
zip, but I'm excited though. I'm very excited.
I have every stem for you, buddy.
Yes.
So yeah, like
happy place.
I was pumped because here's what's cool. The money came in so quick, and this goes back to, you think no one's for you until it's time to like put up or shut up.
Yep.
I was like trying to make a list, and I did a shout out list when I dropped, like saying thank you, and there were so many names on the list, and people that you didn't even know were paying attention. You know, like you read through the list, and you're like, I didn't know you still. Wow. You're lurking in the background over here supporting me. You know,
shout out to the lurkers.
You know, so this one was cool just because it fulfilled a dream. Yeah. Number one, but then I'm gonna be honest with you, I struggled to write this song. One, the pressure, right? You know, Marty's on it. It's a dream feature, so like I do want to do good. Like I want it to be something that people can vibe with. But initially, I struggled because the song talks about cutting people off, and I was like, wait. Like the Bible talks about loving everybody and all this stuff, and then I started to go through some things in my season. I was like, no, we're not saying we don't love people. We're not saying that there isn't a time and a place to extend mercy, grace, love. But what we are saying is that if it affects your peace and if it affects who you are, and not wasting your time and your energy. I just heard a minister, Joe McGee, talked about your spare time. Yeah. Where you're devoting your extra time. Yeah. Because there's going to be times where God's called you to speak into someone's life, and God's called you to be involved with them, but who is building you up and who is supposed to be in your corner? And I started to realize that there was a lot of people in my corner that I was doing a lot for, but wasn't seeing that return. It wasn't seeing that investment. And a true friend's hard to find. Like it really is hard to find genuine people that like are checking up on you. Mm-hmm. And so while I'm going through all this crap in my life, very, very few amount of friends that know or could tell a difference and were checking on me. Mm-hmm. Thankful for those people. But I realized really quick, I was like, okay. And then it bothers you more when there are people that you thought were for you. Oof. And you're like, where have you? And I say it in the song. I talk about like people, like when you celebrate, they only want the cake. How many people come around when cake's there and we're going to celebrate together. Yep. We're going to throw a party. But they're not there for the dirty dishes and helping you clean them up when it's all said and done. You know what I mean? So I'll leave it at that. We'll hit the song. But
go ahead.
Yeah. No offense. No offense. I love everybody. I will always be there for you in some kind of way, shape, or fashion. But if you're affecting what God's doing in my life and where I'm headed, you're getting cut off.
All right, let's go.
messing up the vibe, yeah. But today I got the time, yeah. Cutting people off, no offense. Protect my peace at all costs, that's a flex. You messing up the vibe, yeah. But today I got the time, yeah. Cutting people off, no offense. No offense. Protect my peace at all costs, that's a flex. I'm done with the people who doing the most. They burning the red like it was just toast. Some of y'all doing this trying to boast. Spirits you dead, I'm looking at ghosts. These Caspers are actors. Party boys off the ladder. Go against the grain like tractors. The cast around me isn't what I pictured, but I'm saying cheese. Y'all think y'all living rent-free, but I'm about to pull your lease. Had your back, no receipts, no returns. Hit the lead, doing everything I can to keep my peace. Let's go. Hey, you become who you align with. Yeah, you become who you spend time with. I don't have time to pander, no answer is an answer. I'm about my real friends with that Joey and Chandler. Okay, steady in the kitchen, you can watch me bake. When you celebrate, they want the cake. I'm done with the people who just take. Dirty dishes from y'all eating off my plate. You messing up the vibe, yeah.
Messing it up.
Today I got the time.
I love that part right there.
Cutting people off, no offense. Protect my peace at all costs, that's a flex.
Woo! That's it. Okay, no offense. Today I got the time, bro. I don't know why I feel like that should go on a T-shirt. I feel like I feel like that would just personify, because anytime anybody kind of got any issues, I mean, you know, I'm a very direct person. It's like, listen, we want to have a conversation. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like. That line right there, I feel like that just kind of embodies, like, you want to talk? All right, let's go. I got time. Today I got time.
And I think I got to that place too. So like when I got the song, I wasn't in a place to write it, but like I sat on it for like a couple months, and then you know, so it all worked out.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's good. And and you're not kidding. You know, people want to come around during your good times, right? Where am I hearing something in the background? Oh, okay. I saw you looking out.
Just a little VR going on.
I saw one of my sons must be playing right now. So, which actually, I wonder if my wife said this okay, because I'm like, technically they should not be at all. So, but yeah, man, that's good. Yeah. So, no offense, got it done, got the feature that you always wanted on there. What was that? Did you just lose the VR controller?
He said,
"You're supposed to wear the straps, bro."
My bad.
Okay. So I found out my producer is actually awake right now and throwing VR controllers. I don't know if you guys can hear that at all. I don't know what the mics can pick up, but so okay. So 2 tracks in,
1 to go.
This is the most recent one, and sonically does not sound
anything like that.
Anything like the first 2.
Yeah.
So tell us about that one.
Yeah, so this the one I just dropped is called All for Nothing, and probably, I mean, I like a lot of my songs, you know, as an artist, but probably one of my top 5 favorite songs I've ever done.
Yeah.
Just because it holds so much weight, it really is the full. I feel like a good. What's the word I'm looking for? Like pull the lens back view of what I went through. You know, just
bird's eye view.
Yeah, bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Of what I was going through, and I kind of got to a place to share this on Instagram a little bit, but with everything going on, I just hated everything that was going on. I hated music. I hated CHH. I hated ministry at the time. Hated where I was heading in life. I hated the kind of husband I was being. Like, every aspect of my life, I found myself in my prayer time going to God and saying, is everything I've done, everything that I put myself through, is it all for nothing? Like, is everything that I've ever, I went to Bible school. I invested all this time, energy, and money into music and into ministry and trying to do all these things. Is everything I've done, is it literally been all for nothing? You know, and I say, please don't tell me that it's all for nothing. And I remember saying that to God, saying, because I think it's something. I think, like, maybe I'm not seeing it right now,
Yeah.
but there's got to be something more than what I'm going through in this moment.
Yeah.
And so in this song, I talk a lot about my struggles, a lot of secrets that I was keeping from people, that I didn't want people to know that I was depressed. I didn't want people to know, because
Wow.
especially in ministry, like, I'm supposed to be the strong one. You know what I mean? So, like, and that's a toxic thing.
It is.
That's a toxic thing.
I agree.
I'm not saying that that's how ministry should be, but that's where I let myself get. And I wouldn't allow people to help me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't allow people to speak into my life. I was so insecure about being insecure, and it bothered me. And so, if you don't mind, the second verse holds a lot of weight for me.
Okay, yeah, we can run it.
So,
bro,
with it being the most recent, if you want to let it run all the way through, it's a very powerful part of my testimony, because I talk about, one of my favorite lines in the songs is saying, maybe I'm a rapper, maybe I'm a pastor, maybe I should slow down and focus on what matters, wasting my time trying to find greener pastures, feeling so lost, got my mind feeling scattered. Like, that is the definition of the season that I was in. I was constantly thinking, well, maybe I should go youth pastor over here, or maybe I should stop youth pastoring and do this, or maybe I should stop doing music and do this, or maybe, and I got so focused on trying to find the better that I wasn't focused on what God really had for me in this season. Yeah. And I think a lot of people get like that. They rob themselves of what God has for them in this season, trying to prepare for the next season. And I was doing that. And ever since I've let go of that, I now realize that it wasn't all for nothing. But in that moment, maybe there's someone out there right now that felt like I felt, or feels like I felt. Yeah. Of like, man, I'm doing everything that I know to do. I'm doing everything to the best of my ability. Why is there so much turmoil? Why is there so much hard going on? And just know that just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. And you won't get to that point where you see the breakthrough, where you see the blessing, where you see God on the other side of it. So I just want to encourage those that, that might feel like that. It's not all for nothing. Preparation time's never wasted time. God's got a plan and a purpose. You just got to keep pushing and do what you know to do. So,
amen. Let's run it. I like this melody.
Same.
I wake up, feel like needing sleep. Too many secrets that I don't want to keep. My thoughts are getting way too deep. Calling here, you can leave a message at the beep. Fake friends, I don't ever hear peep, no. You can fall if you never take a leap, no. I keep hearing I'm over my head. It's only a dream if you stay in bed. I should quit, I'm not where I want to be. I should stop, they're making fun of me. My pockets are empty and I'm feeling stuck. I guess when you're down, the only way is up. I just need to move on, I just need to let go. Girl, you need to stay strong, this is what you're meant for. Maybe this is all wrong, maybe I'm my own fault. Been at this too long, I just gotta know. Maybe this is all for nothing. Don't tell me this is all for nothing, cause I think it's something. Maybe this is all for nothing. Don't tell me this is all for nothing, cause I think it's something. Maybe this is all for nothing. Don't tell me this is all for nothing, cause I think it's something. I got too many questions, I'm so accustomed to listening to your suggestions. Gotta tell them. I guess I didn't learn my lesson. Am I doing enough? Cause it got me second guessing. Now I'm stressing. How much longer will it take for me to find fulfillment? There's gotta be a way. There's nothing left for me to say. Why am I making music for you to never play? Maybe I'm a pastor, maybe I'm a rapper. Maybe I should slow down, focus on what matters. Wasting my time looking for greener pastures. Feeling so lost, got my mind feeling scattered. I just need to move on, I just need to let go. Oh, you need to stay strong, this is what you're meant for. Maybe this is all wrong, maybe I'm my own fault. Been at this for too long, I just gotta know. Maybe this is all for nothing. Don't tell me this is all for nothing, cause I think it's something. Maybe this is all for nothing. Don't tell me this is all for nothing, cause I think it's something. I just need to maybe this is I just need to let go. Oh, you need to stay strong, this is what you're meant for. Maybe this is all, this is maybe I'm nothing, cause I think it's something. Too long, I just gotta know.
Hey, that was it. That was it right there. Yeah, so obviously, you know, I enjoy. So I say obviously. So there have been plenty of times where I've told people that, like, when it comes to music, when it comes to artists and stuff like that, yes, I can enjoy a certain sound from you. At the same time, I also don't want to hear the same sound from you, right? If that makes sense. And so, I enjoy that with the singles that you're dropping, that it's a little bit of everything and all that. And I mean, gosh, even that, like, yes, the beat was different, and I enjoy the high energy. But then on the second verse, especially knowing the context to it, the it's not the ad lib, it's the when you're layering yourself, there's definitely way more intensity on those lines that you specifically talked about. Was that intentionally?
Yeah,
you were pushing those.
And not from that was just me upset. Like I'm literally just, that was in the moment. Like that was just me being raw and I'm screaming. At this point, this is just me talking to God, saying like, why am I wasting my time?
Wow.
Doing this stuff. And so I just got on the mic and I screamed it.
Yeah.
And now I love it. Like it sounds good.
Bro, it sounds really good.
But
for sure.
But yeah, in that moment, like that's how I felt. And I wanted to convey and be able to hear back that same emotion.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I didn't want it to just be cool bar.
Yep.
I want someone to go back and feel what I was feeling in that moment and be able to relate to it, so that I can then help you on the other side of it and say, but you don't have to stay there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. No, that's good, bro. That's good. Yeah, man, it's been really cool to be able to obviously catch up, but then to hear that, you have been dropping, and so is it safe to assume you got another one?
Every 2 weeks until at least right now until June.
Wow. So are we performing any of these?
We might, we might.
I'm like, wait a minute.
You never know.
We ain't got that much time.
So. I'll say this. After this next one, we start to get back to Cole being fun a little bit and just being able to make music again.
Yeah.
But this next one, I'll go ahead and promote it. Time for Me will drop not this Saturday, but the next Saturday.
Okay.
And Time for Me is kind of, again, we're storytelling right now. We're building up and kind of it wasn't intentional. These all just kind of found each other. And so I decided to release them back to back. But Time for Me just talks about kind of knowing that I needed time for myself. I talk about, not what music's done to me, what this pressure of ministry and music and all this stuff has done. It's everybody needed me, but I didn't ever get a second for me. I didn't get that time to pull back and reinvest back into myself and to deposit back. And I talk about my struggles of not being able to afford to take my wife on a date or being okay just in general. And so, I just talk about needing time for me and being able to find that. And so again, I found that I was able to get that time where I just pulled back the reins and I said, you know what, we're not going to worry about music right now.
Right.
We're not going to worry about ministry right now. We're just going to focus on making time between me and God, between me and my wife, between just getting back healthy.
Yep.
And in a right mind space.
Wow.
So
that's cool, bro.
Yeah.
Man, excited for that.
It's a different vibe than everything you just heard.
Hey, I'm with it
as well. So,
and just so you guys know, I might be his DJ, and just like I'm also George's DJ, both of them I don't know about their songs until just about when they release or we're about to perform them.
I'll send him. I will send him snippets.
Oh yeah.
Like
I
in
know
the
you're working on
the
it.
early stages of a song.
Right.
But I'm so guilty of recording something in the moment because it's fresh.
Yep.
Sitting on it forever, and then releasing it without you knowing.
For me, my main thing is like, all right, I get that we're not doing a show recently, but your own DJ can't get the
Get the inside
the
scoop,
insides or
right.
at least the stems. Like, can I at least get something
Yeah,
before
yeah.
I do it? Cole, don't even feel like you. Do not even feel or say you're guilty of anything. I am a finals projects person, right? And
He is.
and I'm not. And actually, you've done really well about asking my thoughts on some things or whatever. Let me hear. It's not that, okay, Nisha. Just so you know. All right. What you mean? Don't act. Okay. It's not even that. It's the fact that, again, I get it. We're not going to be performing here soon, right? But good Lord, could you just go ahead and just give me the instrumentals and vocals and just be like, hey, got a song dropping and here's the stems. Brrr.
Yeah.
It's it.
I'm guilty of that too, though.
That's all it is. That's all I'm asking for.
I'll say this just to make Nisha feel somewhat happy. It's a two-way street. It is because I like kind of surprising my friends though too.
Yeah.
Like if I tell you it's dropping and then you hear it, so only I can hear the creative side of it, right? Like I could show. Right. You and Evan and a few other of my friends, like, hey, this is what I'm working on. And you'll hear him be like, cool. Like, but you don't hear the final product and you can't envision it. Like I hear all these different effects and stuff. Yep. When I send it to you, it's raw vocals with auto-tune on it, and my vocals are 10 times louder than the track. And, it's not what you're going to hear. And so a lot of times, like everyone I send it to, my wife's the funniest one. She's just like, yeah. It's just like, oh, okay. Is it good? Like I'm asking, like I'm trying to show it to you because I don't want to keep working on it if it's like, right. If I need to go back and fix something.
Yeah. So for me, so all I'm saying, here's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that I need the final product. I'm just saying like, hey, even after it's released,
send them because I haven't sent them. You're right.
Just send the stems. You're right. You know I got no problem downloading it. I have no problem, buying off iTunes or whatever. That's fine. Yeah. But it's like I've noticed that most of your songs that I have, I bought them, which is fine, and then there's no stems. But because of all the past stuff where you weren't able to get the stems and all that whole debacle, right? Totally understand. It's all good.
But we're not there anymore.
We're not there anymore. So it's like now I'm lacking patience. So, okay. Do you? I know we're both night owls, and you're in my house, so don't matter for me. Do you want to go through some of the hot takes that we were talking about? Okay, all right. So hang on before we do that. Hey, mijo. Hey, is mommy home? No. Okay, you need to go ahead and wrap that up, sir. Okay, that's fine. Either way, both of you guys are done. Okay. So go ahead and wrap it up. The joys of being homeschoolers. You guys have a lot more time to play. So if you could do that for me, sir, and get yourself ready for bed, that'd be fantastic. And I will be up there afterwards. Okay. That's fine. Finish up the round. Win it. Take no prisoners. Talk all the trash you want. And tell them that Jesus loves them, okay? Okay. All right. Love you, mijo. Okay. Live stream, right? Live stream live. Okay, so I wanted to get into another round takes an hour. No. They know better for me. Maybe to a white parent, but
that's right. Wait.
Anyways, okay, before I go on side tangents there. So hot takes. All right. Hot take. And obviously we don't have to specifically say any names.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
However the main
for sure.
Because these hot takes kind of really take a form of various amounts of people.
Yeah.
But one thing that you started touching on, and really when you started, I was like, oh, you know what? That's interesting. I can kind of see the frustration. So, what was one of the hot takes that you were talking about where, you know, a rapper, specifically a Christian rapper,
Yeah.
can do these kind of things, but if a preacher does
Yeah.
the similar thing, then automatic it's like, oh my gosh, it's just
So like, and again, we're not gonna say names, but when you look at like Christian hip hop culture, you look at the TikToks, you look at the music videos, you look at the presentation that we're putting out there, right? For instance, I've never once thought, let me shoot a music video and put myself in front of a Bugatti and have like 9 gold chains on and like try to sell myself. That's the world, right? Like if we're gonna go and say this is Christian, that's the world. At the other side of it, I get it though. You know, we don't want it to come off to where someone who's maybe struggling can't relate to it. And if that, I get both sides.
Yep.
So I'm not here to say it's right or wrong, but the comparison that came to me is that I can watch my favorite Christian rapper, insert whoever you want there, do a music video, a TikTok, whatever, and they're doing the finer things in life. You know, maybe they got grills on, they got chains, they're in front of the nice cars, they're driving nice cars, they're wearing the right kind of fashion, and we know what that fashion costs to look that way, the shoes, whatever. We can do that, and we'll say, oh, that's dope. Oh, that's cool. I like that they did that. That's awesome. I love what they're wearing. You know, I wish I had that car and all this stuff. You're a pastor, whether it's a big name pastor or it's not. Your pastor buys their wife a BMW. They saved up all their extra money that they got, buys them their wife a BMW because that's the car she wanted, and it's instant. I can't believe you would do that. You know, you're robbing the church. You're putting all this money. That could have been money that you gave to the poor. That could have been, and it's like, wait a minute. Like, you know, pastoring is still a job. They are still getting paid, and regardless of if their pay is fair or not, that's not for you to judge. Their church, their board, whoever is deciding that. But if in any other profession, if I saved up money and bought a BMW, nobody would have questioned for a second.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, there's that take. But then when I look within the Christian mold itself, if and it doesn't even have to be CHH, if your favorite Christian artist went and bought a brand new BMW, no one would bat an eye. They wouldn't be like,
They're like, oh, that makes sense. They got a lot of streams. They got some concerts.
They made good money off of what they've done.
Yep.
And they've invested that money into a nice vehicle. Like hand clap, good, kudos for them. And that's how I feel.
Right.
Hand clap, kudos to you. But if my pastor, who's also dedicating their time and energy and whatever, or any pastor is doing that, or they wrote several books, or their messages or their podcast or whatever has several streams or whatever.
Yeah.
No matter what, they get put under a different lens, a very unique lens that no other profession, I think, Christian or not Christian, has.
So you're saying what is with the double standard where in any other profession as a Christian you can make the finances, do what you want with them, and people go, hey, good for you. That's what you did. But then pastors, more specifically, right? Pastors, what's the double standard? I think part of the double standard, as somebody would argue, is, because the automatic comeback, if even for this, is, hey, what they're doing is ministry, but it's like, oh, but everything is ministry. And it's like, yes.
Yeah.
But then we have to go into how are we defining ministry, right?
Yeah.
Because, you're making money off of the Bible,
Yeah.
right? Off of sharing the gospel.
Right.
Now, what you said, and at least what I like that you kind of differentiated and just and added to, is, but if those pastors are using other streams of income to make that money, so books, songs, whatever it is that they do, why can they not, in their position as a pastor, but in their getting finances from the other things that they have to offer, why can they not still rock what they rock? Because I think the main issue people would have is, let's say this pastor does not do books or anything else, and he rolls up in 2 or 3 Teslas now for his kids, his wife, and him, right? Then that's where people go, now wait a minute, like, if that's, how are you getting that much money from the church and you're not doing that? That is, I think, where most people have issues. I don't think anybody actually has a huge issue with, and of course there's the outliers, but with a huge issue of like, hey, you have been booked as an artist because you're also an artist. You have been booked as an author or a speaker,
Right.
and other things or whatever. I don't think there's much pushback on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, but this is still where I go back to, okay, most churches, I'm not going to say all, because there are outliers, they have a board. They decide what the pastor is getting paid.
They
right?
should have one.
Yes, that's what we're saying. and most do,
Yeah.
whether or not they're, we're not going to get on whether or not they're corrupt. But my point is, it's still a set amount.
Right.
And if you're able to afford what you want within that set amount, I don't understand why there's a problem with it, because it's not the pastor's job to come out of his own pocket and bless the community and do those. That should be everyone's call if we're going to be real. Like, why am I putting it on the pastor to say, well, you got a BMW. How many people could you have fed? How many groceries? Who's rent? Whatever. We put all this pressure on a pastoral to take their income.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or wrong, that's subject to the situation at that point.
Right.
But what they've been allotted to have, if they're able to afford what they want, who's to say that they're also not giving on top of that? Not to mention, the church should have its own funds on top of what they're paying their pastor to sow into the community as well. And you and I have talked about this a lot, is that what many churches consider outreach is actually inreach. It's what we're doing at our church and spending money at our church to do and telling people to come to. But outreach is not bringing people in. Outreach is us going out. And so having a budget to go out into the community and then use that to bless the community. I guess my hot take is if we're going to put an expectation on a pastor, it's not a pastor, it's a believer. Either we're all called to take, like, why does anyone have a BMW then?
I understand.
Where's that standard of, if you're just a Christian businessman, yeah, you've worked hard for that money.
Yeah.
But I can make the same argument then and say, okay, well, what could you have done with that money instead of buying that BMW? What could you have done instead of having this nice house or this? I'm not thinking that way. I'm just saying, but when we have this standard that it's all on the pastor to live this, well, you're a pastor, you should be doing these things. Okay, well, I'll call the pastor out now. He's not a very good pastor if he hasn't taught you, though, that you're called to do the exact same things that he's supposed to be living out. And that's where, like, it's something I noticed. I was looking on Instagram the other day, and, I follow all these artists and whatnot, and I'm just like, content after content after content. It's like, this person's wearing this person's driving this or doing that, and it's like, I don't care, like, do what you want to do. But then I was like, but man, if a pastor like did a 60-second, well, I'll use Paul actually because we both know him. Man, if Paul would shoot one of his like 60-second clips driving a Bugatti, would it have the same impact? Would people not think differently? And that's what came to my mind, is like, could a minister do a similar content and it be received in the same heart?
I think where the issue could be a little bit more, and not necessarily naming names, not that anybody really cares if we say anything like that.
Right.
But I would look at the trend of what that pastor is posting.
Yeah, true.
If it is a consistent, like, every other post or every so many posts, not necessarily that you're in your car or whatever, but like you said, you got to fit, and you're like, I know how much that costs.
Yeah,
I know every single bit of it, and it's and I think that hot take would be like, do you necessarily need to post all of that? And then, right, so one camp is going to say, why don't you go ahead and just wear some Walmart jeans,
Right.
you know, and a tank top or whatever and call it a
Right.
day, or a t-shirt, whatever. But then, you know, another camp would say, well, hey, it's nice that you're stylish and all that because I can relate to that,
Right.
right? Especially for those who are fashions. And so I think my biggest concern of even like you said for this whole thing, even like a Christian hip hop artist, right? A CHH artist, if every music video that they're doing has a certain look to it all the time, it's because the thing is that what you're posting, you can say a lot without saying a lot.
Right.
You can say a lot. You can say a lot by showing a lot,
Yeah.
right? And so even though you're not necessarily saying, you know, hey, look at my this, look about that, or whatever, you're also conveying it in a way because you're constantly showing it.
Right.
So what I would say, what we're not saying is that there's a one way to fix it
No.
necessarily. What I think you're saying is just your biggest push is just why the double standard.
Yeah.
Is essentially what it is.
You know, and of course, people who are critical thinkers, you're a critical thinker, you'll take the time to weigh those out. But
Yep.
unfortunately, the way that social media and the way that content is digested by the mass
Yep.
is not, well, let me go look at all their content and see if this is consistent or not.
Context. Yes.
What it is I saw one video, I saw 10 seconds of a 60-second clip, and I made my opinion about that person solely off of that one thing.
Yep.
And so insert minister that you want here, this goes into this too. And artists can get this way as well. They can get this kind of, it's not as often. But a minister says one thing in a 60-second clip that can be so misconstrued and taken out of context. But all I heard was that little part.
Mm-hmm.
And I've now based my whole ideology of their ministry and what God may or may not be doing through them through a 60-second clip.
Yep.
Instead of the 60-minute message.
Yep.
And I've seen, I'm not saying that there are some that it works, you would watch a 60-minute message, like, yeah, you're still off.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of times where I watch, I was like, no, that's not, like, how that clip portrayed it is not what was actually being said.
Yeah.
And it's context. And so, you know, again, there's that part of me that understands, like, wanting to make sure that what we're presenting is not so corny and cheesy that nobody can relate to it.
Yeah.
I want people to think of being a Christ follower as something that is attractive and appealing. At the same time, if it looks like the world, then we're doing the exact opposite of what the Bible told us, that you're in it but not of it.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful. We got to draw the lines where the lines need to be drawn. Now, I'm a Jordan guy. I love sneakers. I'm going to go get me a nice pair of Jordans, and I would dare anybody to come challenge me and say, well, what could you have spent that on, and you know, what are you doing with your funds and all this stuff? Because, again, I worked hard for that. I set money aside for that. I paid my tithes. I give above my tithes. Like, we can always argue that you can give more, right? Like, there's always that argument, but there's nothing wrong with also wanting something and wanting something nice for yourself and putting money aside for that. I work hard for my stuff. So I'm not saying you can't work hard and get something that you like or, you know, that you've wanted or whatever. I'm just saying, let's stop the double standards. If you would be okay with your favorite artist getting this, Christian or not, like your favorite whoever, your influencer, your YouTuber, your Twitch person, having all these nice things, and you wouldn't bat an eye. You're like, well, you know, they earned that. They worked for it. Well, your pastor is working too. It may be ministry. Yes, part of their job is preaching the gospel, but there's a lot of aspects of their job that aren't preaching the gospel. And it's hard work and it's taxing and it's a lot. And so they are earning payment too for what they're doing still. So allow them the grace to be able to want what they want and put money aside to get what they want to get.
Yeah.
Also knowing that if you're supporting that pastor and you believe in what they're doing, they're probably also doing X, Y, and Z on top of that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Just afford somebody grace. Afford somebody grace that when you see something, you don't just automatically go, that must be the only thing. Yes, sir. If you can watch YouTube, set a timer. Okay, set a timer. Okay, so essentially, yeah, just no double standards,
Yeah.
right? No
Yeah.
double standards. And then I guess, and we already kind of touched on it a little bit. Then the other hot take would be, should a Christian post in general, their quote unquote nice things, or their where they've come up? Because on one hand, and we don't have to go far into it because we really touched on it a lot already.
Right.
But on one hand, and this goes with the whole, why do you got to post that you're praying for so and so? Why do you have to show that you gave this, or why do you have to just bring attention to something that you could have just went ahead and just done on your own, knowing that God sees it regardless?
Yeah.
Right. If it's ever made the public eye, on one end, people are like, don't do it at all. God sees everything. It's okay. He knows your heart. Store up your treasures in heaven. Hey, okay. On the other hand, there's a camp of like, but that's inspiration. You could inspire somebody, to give because they see how giving you are, to pray for somebody because they see that you're praying. And so, quick thoughts on that. Like where do you stand on that? Do you think anybody should ever post when they, for instance, pray for somebody?
Obviously, it's the heart of why you're posting, right? And that's hard because you don't always know someone's heart.
Only God knows the motives. Yep.
But the Bible does talk about not letting your left hand know what your right hand's doing, right? And so even in that sense, it's like, okay, I got to be like mindful. Why am I posting this?
Yeah.
Why, again, we're not back. If we're going to go back biblical times, everything that ever happened was word of mouth. Hey, this is what so-and-so did. You got to go and see this for yourself because Jesus or Paul or, whoever we're going to John the Baptist, like this is what's happening when we're around them.
Yeah.
When we encounter them. We now live in social media land where we feel like everyone's always got to know that we're always doing something. And that's something for me that I personally have let go of. If someone were to post or if content came in authentically, that was like, okay, well, there was a cool moment at the Houston, what did they call that? You and I did it in Houston, Missouri. Fields of Faith.
Fields of Faith, yes.
There was a cool moment where I got to pray one-on-one with this young gentleman. Somebody else took a picture of it. And it was an authentic moment. I didn't know I was being photographed or any of those things. And so I thought it was cool to share that because I wanted to share what God did in this kid's life. Right. Wasn't about showing that I prayed with someone that night. You know what I mean? And when I don't want to seem like I'm taking shots, right? But when I feel like I got to hire a camera crew and I gotta have somebody always on the record button to record every aspect of my ministry. It's like, is this the left and right hand thing? Is this? I will say
for me, being behind the camera, it is weird. Yeah. Like I understand because of content and everything else, I got to capture moments or whatever. Even doing a couple stuff, with our church, I even just asked them not too long ago, like, hey, I'd like to see our social media feed be more of, our people and stuff like that. But it is awkward. Like when I started to do it, I'm like, yeah, I need a lens that I can like sit in the corner and then like be able to get right up into your eyeball because it is weird to capture moments knowing it's going to perceive well on the consumer side of it. But when I'm there, I'm also like, but I really don't need you to think that I talked to this person to tell them, hey, they should talk to you. And this encounter, and it could be a new person. It could be somebody who's just been there for a little bit or whatever. So for me, and kind of what you're saying about like, why do you always have to have somebody record? I'm saying as the cameraman, I'm wondering how many of them go, hey, this is a job. You telling me to do it, but I don't know.
It's that like performance based mindset that we have to show people what's going on. Like, I love that churches have social media. I think it's a great tool. I'm not saying don't have social media. But you've seen the TikToks where it's funny where, like, the church social media person's, like, getting under the person crying during worship or getting under, like, like, we have to capture these things for it to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if no one cried at church today? Can we take a picture of that?
Yeah.
What if nobody raised their hands today during worship? Can we take a picture? Like, what if that wasn't what God was doing that day? Like, you know, when I see, and I've seen ministers, I've seen artists do this, we're going to do a pray for our city campaign. And the whole video is like this documentary of praying for your city. I was like, don't you think your city would love it a lot more if you just prayed and stopped focusing on the production of your prayer?
Yeah.
But like, we just got together and we prayed.
Yeah. So okay. So let's bring out the word.
Get in there,
because we actually use this. So the context that you were talking about was Matthew 6, just as first person here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. So watch out! Don't do your good deeds publicly to be admired by others. So there's the don't let everybody know, but the specific reason is to be admired by others. That's where the heart. That's where that motive is, right? For you will lose the reward from your Father in heaven. When you give to someone in need, don't do it as the hypocrites do, blowing trumpets in the synagogues and the streets to call attention to their acts of charity. I tell you the truth, they have received all the reward they will ever get. But when you give to someone in need, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Give your gifts in private, and your Father who sees everything will reward you. So that's the context that you're talking on. And I would say as far as the hot take is I agree with that. And I've also seen how my heart has been changed and moved by seeing content at the same time. And so it's not, so obviously what we're talking about is some nuanced things, which is why it's hot takes. I would go back to what I was saying on the earlier one, which is I would have to see the trend. Like, what is going on? Is this happening every single time, right? If this seems to be something that always kind of follows along with the next song that your church is dropping, feel some kind of way. If it seems to always be right before a new sermon series that you're about to go into, it still feels really weird, right? It's more of the call to action that's happening beforehand or after that I would go, now it doesn't feel as authentic.
Yeah, I think it's that mindset of, and we just saw an example of this with the Stronger Men's Conference stuff that happened. And
bro, I came back from the cruise and I was like, what in the world?
And I'm not even going to talk about the two that are involved with that. I'm going to talk about all the people that felt the need to give their opinion, though, online. Like every pastor that and I love y'all. All right. But nobody cares about your opinion on that. Like there's a deeper rooted issue here, and we need to allow those that are involved to deal with that. Yeah. All right. And they already were on a pedestal on the platform because they were producing their content. All right. We wouldn't have known it happened had cameras and social media not existed, or it would have taken a very long time for us to be made aware of that situation. I think the difference is we look at the accounts in the Bible and the argument would be made, well, people heard about what Jesus was doing, what Paul was doing, what the disciples were doing, whatever the case may be. Word of mouth was their way of doing things. We have social media. It's a great tool. So I'm not here saying don't ever in your life post something, because I've done it. Like, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying, what is the motive behind it? If your motive and the importance you put on it, is it more important that you get content, or is it more important that people get the content you're producing for them that night? Like, if my job's to bring you the context and the content that's in the Bible, is it more important for me to make sure you get that, or more important that I captured it on camera and that I make sure it's edited in a certain kind of way, and that we edit out what we didn't want you to see, still the authentic moments of the night, and we edit in with music and lights and filters and cuts and different transitions so that you can feel like something great happened.
Yeah.
Because I ain't gonna I'm gonna call it, keep it a buck. Like, I've done ministry events where nothing major happened, right? God might have moved, and I'll never take weight away from that.
Right.
But I didn't see some dramatic thing that I would be able to be like, oh, let's get a video of that. Let's highlight that. There's a testimony. Like, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I still would post about it and say, this is what we did tonight. This, hey, we went out tonight. God was still good tonight. We believe God did what he did tonight, and we're just honored to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah.
There's a difference to me on someone, and I'm not boasting on myself. I'm just saying that that's how I've always been. And I know other artists that are like that. Hey, we did this tonight. God's good. And that was the extent of it. And there was a clip and or a picture. Like, great. That lets me know that you're active, that you're doing something. It can be encouraging. It can positively build somebody up in that way. But when I see like multiple processed videos, mega churches are really bad at this, of producing these videos sometimes that make it seem like every time you guys get together, it's like this. And it actually gives this false reality now that if I don't have an experience like
my
this,
church isn't doing that,
or if my private time, or when I go to an event or whatever, if it doesn't look like this, then God's not moving. And it's like, no, God moves in the quiet still too.
Yeah.
It's not always this loud, rambunctious, in your face kind of move, you know? And so just kind of touching on that again, it's like, okay, remember what is the purpose of my content? Is my content to show you what I'm doing and to kind of be boastful on, look at me, I'm doing something?
Yep.
Like, I'm always nervous to post. And dude, I have clips of messages that I'm still scared to post because I never want it to seem like I'm posting to show you how good of a preacher I am, or to show you that I preached this awesome message, or that I'm, it might help somebody.
Yep.
That's the great tool of social media, is that I could post that, someone could hear it, and someone might receive something and it might help their life.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, and where I overthink it sometimes, is like, okay, but I never want there to be another person that's like, well, Cole just thinks it's about him, and it's him making sure that people know that he spoke and that he got this. Nah, I really don't want that to be the heart of it. And you can't control other people's thoughts, and there's always going to be someone, especially if they already feel some type of way about you for whatever reason, whether it be jealousy, whether it be comparison, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's that back and forth. So again, not saying there's a right or wrong to it. I'm just saying that there's an interesting mold that has transpired, especially within the Christian camp, not just CHH or any other genre of music, just church in general, just Christianity in general, has this, because of social media, has this need to feel like we got to mass produce everything for everyone to see. And it's like, are we losing the heart behind why we're posting it though now?
Yeah.
And it's like, now I feel like I'm watching everybody's movie.
Yeah. And so, First Thessalonians 4:11, make it your goal to live a quiet life, minding your own business and working with your hands, just as we instructed you before. Verse 12, then people who are not Christians will respect you, respect the way you live, and you will not need to depend on others.
Yeah.
And so my thoughts, my take on it is, go ahead and show me, just don't make it a trend.
Yeah.
That's just for me. Like, I don't mind if you show the worship, crying, boohoo, whatever. Just don't make it every single time. That's fine. I don't mind that you're showing the altar call, that moment. Just don't make it every single time, because then it does, it can point a falsehood. Now, I'm also not one of those that's like, that I'm constantly worried. I'll post things and it's like, look, I'm gonna post it. You gonna think whatever it is what it is, because it goes back to putting it back on music. Goes back to like Lecrae, when people say something about Lecrae or whatever, and I'm just like, listen, even if you feel that way, look at everything he has done and
Right.
how he has done it. There is so much consistency that he is in the faith
Yeah.
and he is working this out. He's working out his salvation like all of us. Please give him the grace that, hey, you know what? This post, I may not particularly like the way that he did this or this feature that he decided to have or whatever.
Yeah.
But I am not going to take that man's entire career and say it's never been about Jesus or whatever the case may
Right.
be. And that's the same thing with pastors too. A pastor falls, they do something or whatever. I am not going to take everything and anything that they've ever done well, that they've ever blessed me in at all, and be like, now I can't. It's R. Kelly now. I can't play it at all.
That's the problem with platforms, though. As soon as you have a big enough, especially now,
Yeah.
because everything can be mass produced.
Yeah.
You know, golly, look at we talk about this all the time. Every person that we see in the Bible had a hang up,
All of them.
and like a massive one.
Everybody.
Like, we love to talk about David and Goliath, but do we want to talk about when David kills somebody because he slept with the dude's woman?
Yep.
Like, we cancel David in today's day and age, but David and Goliath's used both in the secular and in the, it's a story that's used in both realms.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of the story, so you look at every single person and we would cancel them if we put them in today's day and age. Dude, if David had a TikTok,
Yeah.
if David had because he danced the way that he danced, he might have got canceled for some of his dancing videos.
Okay, now for context, for people who try to like use that or whatever, David was not twerking all of a sudden or whatever. Like some people, no, don't do that. Some people will
They'll take it there though.
in their preaching mode. It's like, I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna wild out. And it's like, listen, first off, nobody said
David was hitting with one of them pointer fingers. It just
yeah, he yes. So anyways, okay, so last thing.
Yeah.
Last thing is and actually this one, all right, this one I might actually listen. It's my stream. We can do whatever.
whatever.
We're gonna run it. I'm gonna actually pull it up. Okay, I'm gonna pull it up.
Pull it up. Let's do it.
On IG. And you can share your thoughts as I'm going to get it set up, so you can at least have some context. So I know we've been trying not to necessarily use names or whatever, but like this one literally was right as we were about to go.
Yeah, let's do it.
What are your thoughts, okay, hot take, when Christians, knowing that their platform is of size and people know their brand as a Christian, will post about events or places or people that clearly don't live a life that equates to what they believe and stand in. Rather, it's and I'm saying this in while they're supporting maybe that moment. What are your thoughts on using your Christian platform, using your platform period, to celebrate someone or something that is historically in their life known to be opposite of anything godly?
Yeah, I mean, not knowing what video he's about to play, or if I've even seen it, that's such a deep question, and the reason why I say that is, it's like what comes to my mind right now off the jump with no context is like, we're to love the sinner and hate the sin, kind of thing. So it's like, okay, there's a way to show love, grace, and mercy without condoning or giving a place to the world or the way the world operates, or simple desires, things like that. This video is starting to look very, very interesting. Okay. Let's get the context here. I got to get the context. Cause now I feel like my mind went way, to another side of life. And, this this video is not what I expected.
No, I'm gonna give it to you here. I gotta put it in here. This is obviously in real time. So actual Instagram, so I can kind of look through the comments as well. Hopefully, no audio. I'm hoping no audio
All right, so
will come through this. So okay,
we are gonna use names here.
I'm gonna it's gonna show the name and
Okay.
Actually, I don't think it shows the name. But either way,
Can you show me the name? Just because we're talking about platforms, so I'm trying to see what kind of platform we're talking about.
okay. So I'm not sure if it's
Okay.
yeah. on there. So
okay, I see it now. Okay.
Okay. So let me quickly set it up. So this person is I would assume they know this person, that they are celebrating and have had some kind of encounter with them, and now mind you this person in particular, they're not the ones that made the post, but their spouse did, and they're
posting it.
they
Reposted or
not tagged, collab. So that way it went on this
On the
person's page,
right?
at the same time. Which, and if you guys didn't know, you have to accept that, so it doesn't just magically pop up on its own. Like, that person has to physically look at it, hit accept, and then it goes on to their feed. So here is an individual that some of you guys may or may not know of. Doja Cat has never been known for anything godly at all, and so I'll read the caption real fast. So I'm so happy that I was able to witness this moment. She is super humble, warm, and such a talented artist. Her people gave her flowers, but she gave that love right back to them. They absolutely bodied the Coachella. I can't wait for another Doja Cat show and see what else they come up with. So, there's another slide where they're just, so that's the video, and then there's just another slide where they're taking this group picture, and posing and whatever. And so anyways, so obviously, clearly the first video for not even just the name itself, but for the first video, let me get this off the screen because I'm like, clearly the first video already, is very clear that this is not a Christian event of any sort or whatever. And then obviously with the context you get. And so reading through the comments, somebody said, hey, sorry, I had to unfollow you after this. You're going to lose a lot of peoples. I'm sorry for you, but no thanks. We can't mix. So automatically it's the don't be conformed to this world, that kind of deal, where people are, hey, we are holy. We're supposed to be set apart. So there's those arguments that people will start trying to use those arrows of specific Bible verses and brush, a broad stroke any situation. Now, this, I feel like, is a little bit clearer in the sense of like, yeah, but the artist is known for debauchery, has, and you could tell she's, she could be a very lovely lady, but you can tell that there are a lot of things that she's going through in her head, and some ups and downs. And I don't follow her personally by any means, but this is just kind of seeing some other clips and everything else or whatever, right? So, and everybody's an image bearer, right? Everybody's an image bearer. So it's like, hey, first and foremost, I love you as an image bearer.
Yeah.
Right. I love you as an image bearer. But the hot take or the thing that I had set up was, a Christian using their platform to platform those, and I'm not even talking about like like a music artist who's featuring somebody like a D1. D1 does this too. Everybody always uses Lecrae, but D1 does the same thing too, except D1 has, and I'm sure others do, but D1 has very strict things where it's like, hey, like, don't be cussing on my tracks. I don't do that on mine or whatever. Don't wall out. There's a story. I forgot who it was specifically, but he had a relationship with them. He purposely did his verse with a specific line, testing to see if D1 would say something about it.
Yeah, I remember this.
And D1 actually did. And so he's like, hey, I just wanted to see if you were about it, whatever. It's all good. I'm going to change it. So I'm not talking about necessarily features. I'm talking about more of this in context where a Christian who is well known, who has a platform, is a part of an event. Like you could have gone to this event and not posted about it, and you could have had some great godly conversations or whatever. I'd be good on it, right? For me, I'm like, hey, if you just posted, hey, enjoy my time, at Coachella. I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, you shouldn't have been there, and God doesn't want you there, whatever. I'm not that camp, but when you go ahead and post about it, and then you show it, and the only thing you show, the first thing you show is her, her doing a little pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, man, this is a great.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Topic.
Should a Christian ever post anyone or anything on using their platform that is very clearly not for God?
I first got to go to your walk in general, though, too. Because, again, we go back 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have platforms like this.
Right.
We didn't have it. It might have ended up in Time Magazine or, something like that if you were that big of a name to highlight or whatever. But we weren't putting people on these pedestals, I guess, or on this level of expectation that you have to be a certain kind of way. So not that I'm saying you couldn't be there, but why were you there? Like, what was your why for being there?
Right.
Because, again, I'm not here to judge anybody, but if that doesn't represent my morals and my values, then what was my purpose for being there? Mm-hmm. And I've changed my opinion on this a lot. Of be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. Like, what you open a door to really does creep in. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, I used to never have a problem with Taylor Swift, but now I'm really starting to read into some of these things that she does within her set, and some of these songs. I mean, she's got like 6 songs that are explicit on her next album, and on this current, like, these things are becoming apparent. And I'm like, now that I'm starting to think about it, having a kid, I'm like, it changes your lens. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that didn't affect me, but what am I gonna let? Do I want my kid to think that I'm okay with this? Yeah. And if I have it in my life, then it kind of gives that precedent that it's okay. And so I would go back to that first, and I would want to know what my why is for being there. Yeah. Is that a personal friend? Is that somebody that I can truly say I have a connection with? Because I'll be honest, I've been to a wedding where what happened at the wedding was not my lifestyle, my morals, my whatever, but I was there, because that was a close personal friend. Mm-hmm. I can't change how they're going to live their lives, but I can respect and hold true to my values still. Yeah. So people know I don't drink. That's something that's important to me. And anybody who's going to push me in a way to keep pushing me and say, man, but it's not sin. I agree with you. It's not sin to drink, but I come from an addictive family. I don't really want that in my life. Yeah. I don't want to go to that place of appearance of evil. No, I may not be. It's not my job to keep you from stumbling, but if I also don't need it in my life, why do I need to put you in that position too? So it's one of those things where, like, in this situation, when we go to platform now, okay, it may not affect me. I might be strong. Yeah. And being able to look at that video and think nothing terrible. Yeah. But maybe somebody followed my page, followed my platform because of what I was putting out there, was helping them through, I'm going to call it what I call it. Seeing that because someone who struggled with pornography or lusting, that could set them back. Yeah. That could, and it's not necessarily your responsibility, but when when you're got a platform where you've pushed out content to encourage people, especially with the word, and then you post something like that, it is I appreciate the person said, hey, I gotta unfollow you for this.
Yeah.
Because for them, they're saying, I can't have this on my timeline. Not to mention, if I'm a married man, I want to respect and honor my wife. You think my wife would want to peek over at my phone and see a video pop up on my phone where somebody's doing that? No. You know, I don't even want to open a door to that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just for personal conviction alone, like for yourself, you should think like, okay, what is this opening a door to in my own life? But then when I have a platform that people might be following because I'm consistently posting messages, scriptures, things like that, and then this person's like, man, I can trust you. There's an opposite end of this too. I can trust you. I can count on you.
Yep.
Like I want to follow you because you're helping me through what I'm going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that issue. On the flip side, no one's perfect.
Right.
We're human. I have definitely had my fair share of mess ups and failures in front of people on social media, so on and so forth. So by no means is there not grace and mercy in this situation. But to answer your question, I would say that if you're aware, like you're consciously aware that this could, I always go back to, if I think it's going to cause a problem, why would I post it in the first place? If I know that for the sake of being, if I have to post this just to say, for the sake of being edgy, I'm going to post this. For the sake of pushing buttons, I'm going to post it. You miss the entire purpose of what the gospel is. The gospel was not meant to be edgy. The gospel was not meant to push buttons with people and to take people out. The gospel's there because it's the living and active and true word of God. Yeah. This is what he's called us to. This is the standard he's called us to. He's called us to it knowing that we'll never be able to live it 100% accurately ever. Yeah. Which is why grace and mercy is there in the first place. Yeah. But we still are called to it. Right. And so when you're actively pursuing edgy and pushing buttons and trying to stir the pot, now you've missed it of what Jesus's whole mission was in the first place. And that was to preach truth in love. Yeah. Not truth in edginess, not truth in trying to prove that I'm holy. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, no, I understand. Nisha, actually, I'll go ahead and put it back on the screen. Going out of your way to tell someone you are unfollowing them, who you aren't doing life. Is so cringe. So going out of the way just to tell somebody who you have no affiliation with, just to say, hey, I'm not following you anymore. It is cringe.
I agree.
I agree with that.
They could have just made the decision. That was my point.
The unfollow button is for free.
Your decision to do that is great because you're saying I can't have this in my life. Good for you. I do agree though. The need to vocalize anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ever.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
I don't need to tell the waitress that I'm leaving for the night. You know what I mean? Like you did your part. I paid. Like I'm just gonna go now. You know what I mean? Like we don't need to announce. Everything.
No, I get that. So my quick thoughts, and I'm over here trying to flip through scripture or whatever, right? So I know there are several scriptures that people would try to use to talk about how we're supposed to be the salt and life of the world, and so we how can salt add flavor to something if it's not present, right? If you take the salt out, there's no salt there, there's no seasoning there. So now you eating some dry chicken with no seasoning, right? Essentially.
That's normal for me.
So, anyways, so that's where somebody would say, hey, like this is why I should be here or whatever. So again, the hot take, the what we're talking about is the need to post about it. Yeah. Because like you said, like, hey, why are you there? What's your heart or whatever? I don't personally need to know why you're there. In fact, I don't really care. Like it's not for me to care because I don't really know you. My care would be, let me pray for you. Let me pray that whatever you were there for, was sought out. You did what you needed to do, and impact was made.
Yeah.
Let me make that prayer. And again, let me give you some grace. Let me not just assume
Right.
you were doing everything that everybody else was doing, right? Which is what they did to Jesus. You sitting with all these sinners and these tax collectors, and I can't believe you're going to let your teacher go talk to, this person, this Samaritan woman. Like everything and anything about him. Now, he didn't hang out with the sinners hung out with him.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing too, right? But to stay on the topic of posting, right? So some people would look at something like let's see, I knew I was gonna lose my place here. You know what? And this is actually why I purposely left my place here. So Exodus 19 5-6. So this is the Lord revealing himself at Sinai. So right here it says, now if you will obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my own special treasure from among all the peoples on earth. For all the earth belongs to me. Verse 6, and you will be my kingdom of priests, my holy nation. This is the message you must give to the people of Israel, right? So God's talking to Moses and like, yo, this is, I want y'all set apart. Again, there's many verses talking about setting you apart and this, that, and the other. And somebody would go, this is why we should never be with these unbelievers. This is why we should never be at a Coachella. This is why you should never be, here, this, that, and the other. And that is then where I would flip to in terms of where passages where it's talking about like, hey, the weaker brother, because you kind of touched on that a little bit. Somebody could see this post and the weaker brother would be like, hey, like I was doing good, I hadn't been looking at porn forever, whatever. Now I stumbled on this and all I can think about is this, right? So it's the weaker brother conversation. So that comes from, well, I'm sure it comes from different places, but the spot that popped in my mind was Romans 14, 20, 21. It's better to not, and actually, it says this even earlier in Romans as well. So, but it's better to not eat meat or drink wine or do anything else if it might cause another believer to stumble. You may believe there's nothing wrong with what you are doing. Oh, it's not earlier. I was listening to Streetlights Bible app when I was doing the lawn or whatever, so I just didn't realize I had listened all the way through. So I just listened to this just yesterday. So you may believe there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, but keep it between yourself and God. Blessed are those who don't feel guilty for doing something that they've decided is right. But if you have doubts about whether or not you should eat something or post something, you are sinning if you go ahead and do it. For you are not following your convictions. If you do anything you believe is not right, you are sinning. And so that is where the conversation would be for me, which is, hey, I don't mind you're there. You have all liberties to do this, that, and the other. Is it wisdom? I don't think, and this is what people mostly do. I don't think that's a salvation issue. I don't think I should be questioning this person's salvation. I don't think I should not just toss the baby out with the bathwater where it's like, oh my gosh, like now I can't, there's nothing ever been good on your social media, or the fear of like, is this what you're going to do from here on out? Well, no, how about I just keep, and that's fine. Again, it's fine if you done follow, but how about I just keep following and I just keep praying and believing, hey, Lord, I don't know what you're doing with them. I don't know what convictions you put on their heart, what assignments you've given them. Keep them as they do whatever it is they do. That would be my prayer, right? Again, it goes back to what we've been talking about constantly. What is your trend now, right? Because that's kind of what you hit on. Hey, if I followed you because you gave me these great inspirational quotes and Bible verses and references, and you've been doing that for however long, right? And now every post is about you being in these certain spaces that, rather it's a weaker brother thing or whatever, I feel convicted about, right? It is not wrong for me to want to unfollow you. And at the same time, I can understand why that person is hurt, because social media gives you this false connection of like, oh, that was my dude. That was my girl, man. Like everything she posted was was everything I needed about whatever. And it's just like,
Right.
you put a little bit too much on somebody that you don't actually know.
Right.
Right. So where I'm going with all of this is do whatever it is you want to do. Right. I'm with Romans 14 right there. Like, hey, if you feel good with it, you got convictions, set right, and you got community, you got boundaries, right? You got all that stuff. You got somebody on your pulse, right? Your spiritual pulse. Keep posting. Do what you got to do. All right, go. I'm sorry, not keep posting. Keep doing whatever it is you got to do. Is it wise? I think it's a wisdom issue. Right. It's a wisdom issue. I mean, there's another CHH artist, and it's many of them, but one of them I actually covered here on YouTube, so it's in one of our YouTube clips, where they posted something, and I'm like, I don't think that was wise for you to do it. Like, you didn't add any commentary to it. There was literally no point to it other than you just wanted to show it, right? And it had nothing to do with anything that would glorify God, right? So for me, things like that, I can go, I can understand why you want to unfollow that person.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's like, I'm a person of like, well, let's just see. I'm just going to sit here and see a little bit longer.
Well, so a couple thoughts. Number one, a helpful little tool on social media. You can hide a post too.
Yes.
So if there's just one post that maybe, even though you may not agree with it, if it's affecting you, you can hide it for you, right? Like I always tell people, the stumbling block conversation, it's not my job as a believer to always look out to make sure everyone else is not stumbling over me. You still have a responsibility as a believer yourself to divide in your life what is right and wrong for you.
Yeah.
All right. So at the same time, if I'm consciously making a decision that I know could affect others, that's where I get that stumbling block conversation. And I've been in situations where by no means that I know that was an issue for somebody,
right.
And I might have did, or whatever, it wasn't intentional. It caused them to stumble. That can't be on me. I didn't know. I wasn't aware.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize. Like I didn't want to put you in that situation. There's been other times where I know someone might struggle here, or someone might have this issue, and I don't, and I do this, and now I'm opening a door knowing that they struggle. We're talking different situations there. Right. Final couple thoughts on it. Number one, we can say that Jesus hung out with sinners, and that's great, but how much more time did he hang out with the disciples? And even on top of that, how much more time did he spend just him and the Father? So there is a time and a place to spend with those who are not like-minded. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to say sinners, because we still all struggle with sin. Yeah. So when the Bible talks a lot more about the kind of friends that you should have, iron sharpening iron. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't tell me that we're going into certain situations and expecting it to be the same standards. You know what I mean? So
yes, sir.
In this scenario, I'm like, again, it brings me to my last thought is, I think something has to be said about comfortability too. Mm. What am I allowing to be comfortable though in my life? Mm-hmm. And this is why, like for me and my wife, we had to decide that alcohol was a no-go for us. Mm-hmm. We by no means have told anybody that alcohol is a sin, that you can't drink, because that's not true. Mm-hmm. But for us, we had a conviction about it. We're saying it's not for us. We don't want to do it. And that was our choice, and we were uncomfortable with it. Yeah. So I'm not going to talk about matters that have an open-ended. If God told you not to do it and you do it, that's sin.
Right. Amen.
All right. So, but anything that you have to make an argument for to keep it in your life, I would challenge you to question, am I addicted to that thing? Am I struggling with that thing? Do
I idolize it?
Do I desire to, even just the desire to post something that I know is going to ruffle feathers? That alone should be like the fact that you have to wrestle with, I'm going to post this on purpose because I know that it's going to tick people off. Well, that's not fruit. Like the Bible says, you'll know them by their fruit. So if I'm posting something with the intention of getting a rise out of somebody, there's a problem there too. Yeah. With this, I don't think that was the intention. I think there was appreciation in this post. I think there's a genuine probably relationship there that we're not aware of.
Yep.
But comfortability for me, how comfortable am I to allow sin still,
Yep.
apparent sin,
Right.
be comfortable in my life for people to see it?
Yep.
And that again, when we're talking platform, that's something that you have to guard.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible talks about guarding your heart. You also have a responsibility when you're in leadership to guard those that you're leading, whether you intended to lead them or not. Unfortunately, social media has this, if you're going to be in this kind of role, you are automatically a leader. You are automatically
Right.
thrown into this leadership role, whether you like it or not. People are following you, and we
Yeah.
literally use the term follow.
Yep.
They're following you because they're following the content that you're making, what
Yep.
you're putting out, who you are as a person. So you are now, by biblical standards, held to a higher standard. The Bible talks about that. When you're in leadership, you're held to a higher standard. Whether that's what you were asking for or not, at this point, you have put yourself in that position to continue producing this certain kind of content and putting yourself out there. So you have this, and I would even argue as a Christian, you have a responsibility. You are already held to a standard.
Yes, I
In
would agree
general.
with that. I would agree with that.
But
yeah.
once you put yourself into a place where I am leading,
Yeah.
and because I have too much context, because I know the name and I know a lot about that person,
Yeah.
they are in leadership.
Yep.
So it
Yeah, and
does
there's a
that
different
does
role.
sit
Yes.
right now in my head
I agree.
with the current thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
But if you have this platform, you have a response, especially when we're talking Christian.
Yeah.
All right, just producing content. Anyone can produce content,
Yeah.
and you can decide what morals you want to stand on and whatever as a human.
Yeah.
But when we're putting the biblical context to something, we're saying this is Christian, God-centered content that I want to put out and portray out there for people. What you allow to be comfortable and people to see is going to affect how people view your content moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it's a known thing, the John Christ stuff. A lot of people love John Christ until they found out he had failed.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk Gavi because that's come out,
Mhm.
that's known stuff. A lot of people loved Gavi until you found out that he failed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay, well, everything that they do from here on out, even though they might have had grace, mercy, all this stuff extended to them, it's going to affect the lens that I look at their content in, though.
There's some distortion. I
And
agree.
so even now, even though maybe you aren't the one that failed, but what you allowed to be comfortable on your page and on
Yeah.
your platform is now going to affect some people who are going to now view your content.
Yep.
And so, again, I commend those who are saying, I personally have to choose to unfollow you
Mhm.
because this doesn't mix with the life and the morals and the standard and the things I'm going to live. At the same time, I'm going to be real with you, dog. He don't care. That person
Yeah.
don't care if you're not following
Yeah.
or not. Go do you. He or she would probably encourage you to go. If that's what you feel you need to do, then by all means
If
go.
you got
and
to
do
cut it
that.
off, cut it off. Yeah.
Cut it off. But there's something to be said about just making let your yes be your yes and your no be your no, and not needing to feel like you got to explain that for again, respectfully, nobody knows who you are.
Right.
So you saying I'm going to unfollow them isn't about to lead this mass exodus of people behind you saying, yeah, I'm going to do the same. Like,
Yeah.
people are going to make their decisions. They're going to stand on their morals. They're going to stand on what they believe. There are probably just as many people who saw no problem
Yeah.
with it on that platform as well.
Right.
So respectfully, I wouldn't have posted it.
Yep.
We've been to weddings where we've DJ'd them and we were doing a service where that maybe wasn't our goal
Yep.
necessarily, but that's what broke out. You wouldn't dare see us post it on our socials or whatever.
Never.
Respectfully, like, praying for you, love you,
Yeah.
do you, boo? There's always one. But I'm not, and out of respect for my wife too, I'm definitely not gonna even capture it
Yeah.
as content.
Right.
It's gonna be something I'm gonna say, you know what? That's not something I want my
Yeah.
brand or who I am to reflect those things. And so I have to be mindful because I do have a platform. I do know that there's people watching me, maybe not to that high of an extent, but there is somebody watching me
Yeah.
on my socials, and I'm very mindful of what I allow and don't allow someone to see because of that, because I want to make sure that I'm protecting the platform that God gave me. So,
Yeah.
but it's an interesting conversation because
Yeah, and Nisha makes a good point here. When people in their circles express concern and they still don't see it as a problem, that's the problem. And I would say I agree with that. If you've got somebody who is close in your circle and just says, "Hey, you know what? I think that was not the wisest thing to do," and then they start going, well, forget you then. That is when it becomes a problem. When you start turning everybody into yes men around you, I definitely agree that that's an issue.
And remembering that correction is meant to be private, though, first.
Yes.
We talk about in Matthew where it talks about if your brother offends you, you
Yeah.
go to them in private.
Yeah.
And you speak. Social media is not the place to call out. Just because they posted it there doesn't mean that's where you also need to post it too.
Right.
Just because they said it in a group setting doesn't mean that you need to follow up in the group setting.
Yeah.
Wisdom is saying, even though they may not be following the standard that I believe God's called us to, that I feel is off, doesn't mean that it pulls me out of the standard that God's called me to, though.
Yeah.
So I got to be mindful and say, okay, if this instance right here, if I was in that person's circle and it bothered me to a point that I felt like I needed to share it, I'm not about to comment on their content and say, bro, sis, I can't believe that this is what you're posting right now. Like,
Yeah.
you know better.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you. I'm going to find a way to spend time with you
Yeah.
and show you that I still love, care, value you in a way that's not like, hey, I'm just coming at you with judgment right now.
And just because Nisha said, your context of what you're talking about is that you have proximity to that person, right? So yes, this is not the time to
Please don't message me
to DM your favorite artist or your speaker or preacher or whatever that you've never, other than gone and seen them one time or whatever, had any kind of relationship. So I want to touch on this really quick, and then we can definitely wrap it up. And you had said it where at some point you are a leader, and I agree with you, and that's why I said I agreed more when you said as a Christian you are held to a different standard, right? And I 100% agree with that in terms of a Christian versus non-Christian. Now that's not that's not technically what we should be talking about, because even as far as judgment, we are called to judge one another. Again, in proximity, there's a lot more to it. Don't just use that as a context as people do.
Right.
We're called to do that in-house, right? We do take care of in-house stuff. So no, I'm not going to ever look at a Doja Cat and be like, I just can't believe that you made another song like that, or did a video like this, or whatever. That's stupid. Like I was of the world as well, right? I have sinful tendencies. I know that I could be that person, right, on a dime. So that is not what we're talking about. What we are talking about, though, is as far as the leadership aspect is, yes, you're held to a higher standard as a Christian in general, all right? And in a higher standard, not because you are better than, you're being called to more than, because you have said, I'm submitting my life to Jesus. Now, if I have not really submitted my life to Jesus, and I'm not giving up to that sin, I'm not trying to crucify myself to that sin or to that tendency or whatever, then now it's a salvation issue of like, okay, did you actually ever crucify yourself, in general, right? Doesn't mean that you're still not going to stumble. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have to deal with the consequences of your brain being wired a certain way because of that. I'm in there. Okay. I am in there. I understand that, better than anybody else. But as far as the leadership aspect, my concern is when somebody says, well, you make music or you do this content or whatever, and so of course you should know people are following you, and of course little Johnny who is just hitting puberty is not going to be able to take the fact that you took a picture on a beach and there's a girl in a bikini somewhere back there, and he zoomed in real tight and did some artwork, and where he got all the pixels filled in, and now he listen. Okay, there are people who are going to do whatever they're going to do, and I get it. I agree with you in terms of like, let me use some wisdom, where I do have to understand that I might have a little Johnny, but at the same time, has what I've done brand wise been for little Johnny to begin with? If not,
Yeah.
that's Lil Johnny who decided to follow me.
That goes back to that stumbling thing of it's not my job to protect every single person that comes across at, trying to be a mind reader and knowing what they're struggling. At the same time, like I'm very intentional about trying not to post if it's a bar and grill, but it looks more barish. I won't post a picture that I'm there. Yeah. Because I'm mindful of, I don't want anyone to think, especially those who are close to me, they know that I have, my stance on that. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't want anyone to get the impression that I fall off the wagon or I'm struggling. Or, right. So that's just me. I'm not saying that that's my conviction. That's something that God's put in my heart to do, and that's what I'm going to do. By no means is it in the word to do that. I'm not telling anyone else to do that, but that's me. Yeah. I'm very mindful of what I'm going to put out there because we're not supposed to look like the world, and at the same time, you're never going to see me freak out that Taylor Swift's not living a godly life. Right. I can't expect the world to do word things. And so like I'm mindful of, can you believe that Taylor Swift's album is so bad? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. She's actively not living this. So yeah, pray for her. Yeah, it's sad. I'm not letting my kid listen to it. I'm not going to indulge in it. It's not a judgment thing. It's my choice to stick to my standards and my values. Yeah. The Doja Cat thing. No, I don't expect her to sit down and read her Bible and do it. She's not living this. Yeah. So I'm not shocked. I'm not offended. None of those things are happening. I'm actually saddened, and it creates a desire in me to pray harder and to be more intentional in my prayer and to ask God to bring along someone in that person's path that will speak life, because I'm not in proximity, because it's not going to be me. Yeah. God, whoever it's supposed to be, open the right doors, create the right scenarios, do those right things, but not getting offended when the world is the world, but also being mindful that because you're no longer of the world, you're in this new standard, and you may not be perfect at it yet, and you never will be, but at least critically thinking. I tell this to people all the time. Become a critical thinker in your life. Think through, okay, does this make sense for me to post this? Even if it doesn't bother you, but it could create a scenario. Mm-hmm. And it's not just posting, saying something, doing something. If I can think through and think of a scenario where it could cause issues, why am I doing it? Yeah. The Bible again says you'll know them by their fruit. If I'm not producing fruit, if it's not coming out and showing that this is a godly thing, then I need to go back and reevaluate. What am I doing that's creating production that I don't want out there? Yeah. So that goes back to this is I look at this and say, does it bother me? No, I'm not struggling when I see that video. Right. I'm laughing at it because I know where the conversation's going to go. Yep. But I'm not struggling when I see that video, and the person posting it, I don't think was struggling when they posted that. Right. But I'm going to critically think and say, yeah, I know that there's going to be a good handful, though, that are going to struggle with the fact that I posted this. Yeah. And me not posting it is not going to change my appreciation for the person I posted about. Yeah. I can send that in a private message. I can show that appreciation in person, and it won't change the story or the narrative in any way. Yeah. Because that person's still going to know that I valued them. Yeah. In that moment. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and ultimately you also need to know who it is that you're being called to. So, for instance, real quick. So Tim Ross, you've heard me talk about him right in the basement. Like the people that he feels called and led to tend to be people who have dealt with trauma of some sort. There's a lot of hurt and pain and confusion and loss and all that. And so the people that he is dealing with and that he is communicating to and that are drawn to what it is that God has to share through him is not going to be the same as a Joyce Meyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's two totally different audiences. Yeah. So it would make less sense for, again, I'm just tossing out a name, so don't be whatever, but for someone like a Joyce Meyer to post about somebody struggling with porn or whatever the case may be, because that's not her audience. That is not her assignment. She's not assigned to those types of people. And so this is where I would also say for those who maybe you know that God can use anybody any way, anyhow. And oftentimes God is using your natural wiring to the way that you think and the things that you like or whatever and all that to reach those people who are similar in those aspects.
Right.
So, Pastor Billy with his, khaki pants, tucked in shirt and all that, and that whatever is probably, though God could use his story and testimony and relationship to connect with somebody who's just coming out of prison, though that is possible, oftentimes the person who's in prison can better relate to somebody who's either been there, done that, or has, for the lack of better words, the intensity that he is used to, right? That he is able to connect with. So for me, not being raised Christian, you using too much Christianese turns me off right away, because I'm like, okay, listen, I even know some of the word, right? And I know things or whatever, but you're speaking to me in a way that is not natural.
Yeah.
Right. I was not born on that stuff. I was not raised on that stuff. So stop communicating the gospel and what I should or should not do in this Christianese type way, when I'd rather you just be like, hey, homie, you got to stop.
Yeah.
You got to stop. You're tripping.
Yeah.
Right. Point blank, period. Stop trying to get in her pants. Like, put it away. Right.
Yeah.
That for me speaks way better than, and chapter this and verse or whatever. Yeah. And again, it's all powerful. Is great. But know your audience is essentially what I'm saying. So
can't expect someone to live a lifestyle that they've never lived before. I tell people that about church.
Yeah.
Can't expect a non-believer to come to church and do church things.
Yeah.
The Bible talks about don't forsake the coming together of the believer.
Yeah.
Not the coming together of people.
Yep.
The church was designed for the believer. And so when we're coming together, you can't this is why I tell people, don't expect your pastor to save your friends. Like, you can't bring them in and say, "Pastor, save my friend." You're called to go and be real with them. Mm-hmm. Your pastor's called to help sharpen, grow, reproof, build up, encourage, strengthen. And the church building is designed to come together and sharpen one another, to build up, to worship together, to do those things together, to equip us so that we can then go right back out and do the same thing over again. But you can't expect a non-believer to know and operate the way that you're operating. Yeah. It doesn't translate.
Right.
So going back to the Christianese part of it, it's like, I can't walk up to someone and say, well, in this scripture, this is what it says. Why does that matter to them?
Yep.
Why? I don't care about Matthew 22 or Matthew 11 or Mark. I don't care about, what does that have to do with me?
Yep.
The word's not important to them yet because they haven't had the encounter yet. So they got to understand what's different. What am I needing to experience first?
Yeah.
Before that becomes important to me.
Yeah.
You talk about an artist, this is a great example. I don't care about anybody's songs. You could tell me about your favorite artist right now that I've never heard of. Well, he's got this song, he's got that song, she's got this song and that song. I don't care about those songs.
Yeah.
But if I encountered that person and I was like, oh, wow, they're really dope, now it makes me want to go and listen to that song.
Right.
In the same manner, it's the same way when it comes to Christ. I don't care about nothing that book says, but once I've encountered him, now it's like, oh, okay, let me go see what this book's be talking about. Okay. Now I'm ready for what the content is because I've experienced the person.
That's good.
So
yeah, that's good. That's good. See, my dad wouldn't let me go to Applebee's because it was bar centric. Yep, I can see that. And then Lucy said, why post at all? It could be a stronghold in one's life. And again, that goes back to what Cole was even saying, is that you do got to take that into consideration, and you also can't guard everybody, especially because it's on social media. And so there is a responsibility, and I think we already touched on it.
Yeah.
There is a responsibility on the person who is posting, and there is an equal responsibility on the person who is receiving it. And again, you want to unfollow, just unfollow. Hey, I've had plenty of people who it's like, hey, I was rocking with you for a while, but like you're just putting out content that I don't necessarily care for. I'm not saying it was debauchery or whatever. Just it's not something I necessarily care for. All right, cool. I'm done. I'm unfollowing you. That does not mean, oh my gosh, unfollowing does not mean that you hate that person.
Yeah.
People unfollowing you does not mean you have haters. Does not mean that, you know, it all it means is that's not your people's. And maybe at one point, your season, they were your people. But just like other relationships, it's a seasonal thing.
Yeah.
I'm seasonally following this person because where they are right now is impacting me in whatever this way. Oh, look, I'm out of this season. They're still in it. Deuces. I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? Or, hey, I'm still in it, but they moved on to something else. Guess what? I'm sure there's somebody out there, even the NF people. Hey, you were in a season where you were hurt and you wanted to just feel what he felt, and it just, you loved hearing, you know, that from his perspective or whatever. Hey, more power to you. Guess what? I've either A, not been in that season, or B, and this is actually how it really is, wired-wise, I'm not wired to do the Ecclesiastics thing and do the there's nothing, you know, good in the world or whatever. I'm not wired that way naturally.
Yeah.
Right? If I feel sad, I'm not putting on sad music. We've talked about before.
Yeah.
If I'm mad, I'm not putting on mad music. I am trying to do something that is opposite.
It's getting me out of that.
I need something to pull me out, to recenter myself. And so even as far as posting, right? If you're going to post it, hey, by all means, again, it goes back to the Romans 14 conversation of if you know that you have no conviction on it, right? And you do it, hey, more power to you. If you know that you're doing it and you specifically have somebody in mind that if I post this and they see it, it may cause an issue, there's a problem.
Yeah.
I think there is a problem. Now, this is not somebody somewhere in this 1.2 million followers that I have might have this issue. Nah.
Yeah.
I'm not doing
I
that.
can't be responsible to read minds or to know stories that aren't been told to me, that aren't aware to me.
Yeah.
And I think there's also something we just, you know, reading that. I think there's also something to be said about the feeling that I need to post.
Mhm.
I got to a place now where I'm like, I don't need to post.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Right.
Like, let me just live the moment. And like this particular post that we saw, like that just felt to me like I'm gonna be in the moment.
Yep.
I don't need to video this. I don't need to broadcast this. There are several moments in my life where like I catch myself now even saying I should video that. Like I should, let me picture that, capture that. Let me get it so I can share and post this later.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, like let me just not do that now. Like it took me like 3 months now to get the little video I made for my baby reveal, you know, our gender reveal, whatever. Yeah. And it was because like, yeah, I posted because I want to be able to look back on it, you know, in my memories and stuff and remember that moment.
Right.
But I had no desire to post it so that I would have content or that people would see what we did.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in the moment that day. I wanted to live in that moment that day. And I'm only posting it so I can reflect back on it when I want to reflect back on it.
Yeah.
But then there's several moments where I'm like, yeah, that was a fun time. And I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, I just deleted my Snapchat. I don't like, I want to get away from feeling the need. Like I always got to post what I'm doing in my life today.
Yeah.
And, you know, I even told students this a long time ago. I think it's really sad that we got to a place where we had to create an app to tell us to be real, to tell us that instead of processing,
the moment.
to process all of my moments, let me make an app now where I have to actually authentically be real. But then what that does is it makes it to where you have to be fake. Because now I have to, in that moment, oh, it's time for me to post my be real. Everybody do this. And like, we're still trying to process a moment in the moment. And it's like, no, what if we just got back to being okay with not posting everything?
Yeah. And you know, obviously we're making content here and you know, we ourselves are posting things. And so there's a time and place is essentially what it is. There's a time and place. I agree, Lucid, you know, we do live in a place that people really take follows and unfollows literal. There's a lot of things, you know, and I wouldn't go as far to say that social engineering is a sinister plot. I think anything that could be used for good, and I think anything can be perverted and twisted. And so, there are people who are using social media and literally just spreading the gospel.
Yeah.
And every single post, and that's great. I'll tell you, I'll be honest, I'm not going to follow you if that's all you literally do, because I don't mind it, but I'm gonna create the algorithm in such a way where I don't mind if you periodically pop up, but that's not me. My feed is got DJing, it's got breaking, it's got gymnastic stuff. Like I want to see a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
But then there's others who they gear their social media to it's Bible quotes, and everything gospel centered and all that. Hey, man, power, all power to you. But I think anything can be taken to a place where it was never necessarily intended, especially when it gets in the hands of humans.
Yeah.
It from the start, literally the hands, the fruit, it got in the hands, and that's what it is. So, not social media, but social engineering, the herding of attention towards one thing or one another. So, yeah, but again, I understand, I agree with what you're saying, is that it that has caused an issue, and I know how much good social media has done. Social media has done fantastic stuff,
just
as
like
well.
There's several things we could point to it in the world that, in its proper use, is a great resource, has been a great resource. It is man that perverts those things. I love when people are like, well, I bet you God has Apple products up in heaven. I don't know if we need them. Like when people get like that, and whatever the case may be. But I think on earth, we've been given these tools, we've been given the knowledge, we've been given these things to use them in their proper way.
Yeah.
Like I can use a car in its proper way, but it only takes one person to get behind the wheel and be stupid for that car to be used in the wrong way.
Facts.
So everything can have a perverted use to it.
Yep.
I mean, even the Bible can be used in the wrong way. And has been used in the wrong way.
Yep.
So even what God created to be his living, active truth that we're supposed to live by can be used in a perverted way. Music has done that. There's so many great tools that we can trace back.
Yeah.
All the way back to the beginning of time that God gave us.
Yeah.
That have been perverted and used in a wrong manner.
And this is why we, who are a fallen, have a fallen nature, this is the hope that we would have is in Jesus. It is because of the life that he lived, the death that he died, that he shouldn't have had to die, but he did in our place.
Yeah.
And then more importantly, or just as important, and obviously I would say more important, because Paul would say that, hey, if Jesus didn't actually come from the grave, if he didn't resurrect, then all of this ain't mean nothing.
Yeah.
So because of the life, because of the death, and because of the resurrection, we now have a hope where, due to that, instead of worrying about how this is going wrong and that's going wrong or whatever, it's like, hey, listen, you know what? God, you got me. My name, I feel like, is solid in the book of life. And all I can ask for is that you would guide me, and that I would use discernment. And like you had talked about earlier, that I would actually read your word and I would obey it.
Yeah.
Right? To the best of my ability, knowing that I'm not perfect. Okay, that's not an excuse to obviously go on and continue to sin, because Scripture is very clear about that. Don't say should I go on continue to sin so that grace may abound? No, by no means. Don't do that. At the same time, understand you're not perfect. Your brother, sister in Christ who posts something that you would disagree with, guess what? In your eyes, that was a fallen moment. And maybe it was a fallen moment for that person, individual.
Yeah.
Countless people have posted stuff and eventually have taken it down, even with good means. I mean, our brother George, he had a time where he got a chance to connect with Justin Bieber. I was back there on backstage with them and had a great intimate moment, and it was really dope to see. And then he asked to snap a picture, which he then later on told me about how he kind of felt convicted because, here's Justin saying, I just want to be able to be here and be present and have people just appreciate, that me, and that I just want to be here around God and God's people, and people always want something from me. Has this conversation, and he shared the story, so that's why I'm saying it as well. And then he takes the picture, which is like he's taking something from him. He's taking a picture, and then he posts about it, and then he took it down because he's like, wait a minute, I just did the stuff that we just got done talking about.
Yeah.
That he didn't like or whatever. And so,
and it's because you want to believe what you're doing is genuine compared to what others were doing.
oof.
But then
Yes.
you're like, but how did it come across? You know what I mean? Like, so I've definitely been there too, where
Yeah.
like, I'm not doing what others have done,
Yeah.
but it doesn't change the fact that I didn't need to do it in the first place, though.
Right.
Like, that picture doesn't change anything, like the conversation needed to happen. It was a great, fruitful conversation. The picture doesn't negate or validate that it happened
Yeah.
because it doesn't need to,
Right.
Well,
and full transparency, and we already touched on this or whatever. Full transparency for me, and it's always been a struggle for me as a DJ, is I would love nothing more than to just play some good songs that are just fun, upbeat, uplifting. For me personally, I'm not that DJ where every song's got to say something about Jesus. Okay, sorry, but I believe that God is in everything. And all things that are good come from him. And so if the song is talk about it's a great day and I want to dance, then amen. Guess what? I'm playing that song. Like I believe that somebody who is celebrating life, is, rather they know it or not, you're praising God for the goodness that he has provided, right? At the same time, again, full transparency, I also know people don't want that all the time. They don't mind it. It's a good warm-up. It's a good starter, especially for weddings. It's a good starter. But eventually, no matter how Christian the ceremonies have been, you get into the reception, and I'm not even talking about alcohol's involved. A lot of times, the alcohol doesn't have to be involved.
I don't got to be that.
It's just like, this song just don't make my body want to move the way I want it to move. And 9 times out of 10, and more so, I mean, we do a lot of different weddings, but a lot of them are some white weddings. So it's not like the music makes their body move any better rhythmically or anything. So it's not like
it's all offbeat.
It's not like this song really makes them, break down into something or whatever. But it gets them involved, and they're like, hey, I know this song and I remember this song or whatever. And so I say that to say, as in terms of what we were talking about posting, about, using wisdom and everything else. Full transparency, I just have no idea in my own convictions. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Convictions can change.
Yeah.
So the person that you're following on social media or whatever it may be, and you're like, they've fallen off the deep end. No, their convictions might have changed. Now, could somebody twist that and be like, my convictions changed. Now I'm okay, watching porn because I'm doing research or whatever. I mean, obviously that was the horrible example, but like somebody could say my convictions changed, and now, instead of me feeling like I couldn't take any drinks at all, now I can take like 5 shots, and be good. And it's just like, whoa, your convictions hasn't necessarily changed. You've tried to make yourself line up with what you've wanted in the first place.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people normally do, even with the Bible. They make the Bible say what they wanted to say, because as long as I can hold on to this little bitty corner here, God, you can have the rest, but I'm not going to give you this.
Right.
Right. Now I'm going to start twisting everything so that I can still say I can have this.
Right.
But I'm still doing everything with God. So just know that a person's convictions can change as a DJ. At the beginning, it wasn't necessarily I was never set out to be a Christian anything. You're right. Jesus is a part of my life, and therefore you're going to hear about him at some point, right? So I wasn't necessarily trying to be a Christian DJ, but at the same time, I was almost so hellbent on I only want to play songs that are clean.
Yeah.
Or that I can clean up as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of it, in context, it's because I've been coaching gymnastics and cheerleading and all that. So I was doing youth stuff, and so in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do school dances or whatever. I'm gonna give these kids what they want, but I'm gonna make sure it's cleaner. It's not gonna just take out the F word here and there. I mean, I'm gonna give the context clear. And as I was doing that, I started to realize that I was like, wait a minute, hypocrite. When I would break to tracks that made me feel a certain way, not necessarily the lyrics itself, but it would give the intensity that I wanted, but I'd listen to the lyrics and I go, I wouldn't spin this song for these kids.
Yeah.
I wouldn't spin this for that. And so then I had to start either going, okay, are you okay with this or not? Well, at that time, my conviction was like, okay, you know what? I need to hold everything off. I don't know what to do, right? Then conviction started to change a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? I understand where I am as a person, and my maturity, my walk, my age, all that. In context, when I'm dealing with adults who are paying for a service, I'll give you this. I still got boundaries, though.
Yeah.
I still got boundaries. You're not going to get a whop from me, ever, okay? Not going to give me that.
You will if you tip for me.
$100 at least.
I'm just kidding.
But the convictions had changed. And so somebody, if anybody were to be following me back then or whatever, they would go, you're a sellout. You're just trying to make more money, all that. Listen, and I can't speak for all artists or whatever. 9 times out of 10, whatever pivot I didn't make me more money. If I played cleaner music, I didn't get more money.
I'll spit for you. Like, he's turned down several weddings. It's not about the money, right? No. He's turned down several events. It's not about the money. It's connection for sure is a big part for you. What are we doing? What are we doing at the event? Is it worth my time? Do I create value for this event? I mean, he won't even do a prom. At least hasn't for a long time. Because
I've gotten close though. I've gotten really close to, you know what? I'll get back into schools, but I can't. I have not reached that point where I can deal with teenagers right now, and it's especially the way that they. It's like I have to constantly remind guys, this is not a 21 and up club. You are still in high school. I don't care if you're a senior. You are still in high. We are on campus, ladies and gentlemen. Why do you think I can play Sexy Red? Please stop.
I don't even know who that is.
Don't know who that is. Don't know who that is.
Thanks for making me stumble. Sheesh.
Shout out to hey, my brother came in the chat for a little bit. That's what's good. Thank you, Nisha. I know you are West Coast, but it's almost midnight, guys. I gotta let this man go. Dude, I used to DJ myself, and I literally was a Christian exclusively, and I received more requests based on the fact that I was a Christian only. Yeah, and I've seen that. I've seen that work for people. I do 100% agree that, being a specialty item, and that's for anything, being a specialty item, it's helpful, and there's a market for that, and that's great. I realized for myself, those are not my people. I don't resonate with them. I don't connect with them.
Right.
And what I mean, not necessarily connect with Christians, but the people who only want that. And here's why. I'll say this really fast. And I know Nisha was joking around. You better put that cha-cha slide, Cupid shuffle, whatever. I've done some Christian events where they told me you cannot play those songs at all. You need to only play Christian events, Christian stuff. And then I would tell them, that's fantastic. You're cutting the check, and I will do it. No problem. But you're wanting me to do this youth event. And then I asked them, do you play these artists? Well, they've heard. I'm like, do they request these artists when you guys are playing this music in the background during their warm-up or hangout time or whatever and all that? No. I promise you, you're not going to get anybody to do what you have envisioned me to come in. You want me to come in, give you this festival vibe, or whatever the case may be, and you want me to do it, on
church clap,
some church clap.
Like, that's all we got.
You want me to do it on some church clap and some old school Kirk Franklin and depending on what church it was, Michael W. Smith,
Right.
at the time, whatever. Like, you want me to do the Chris Tomlin show, but yet you want this kind of no. Listen, I'm sorry, you don't know your people. Like, I know my assignment, you don't know yours.
And also knowing what you're booking. Like, I got booked one time to do a concert, and they literally told me, okay, and I like a lot of my music's very direction based. Like,
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna do this at this point. Ooh, sorry. We're gonna do this at this point. We're gonna dance. We're gonna clap. We're gonna jump. And I got told it's in our church bylaws. We don't do any of that. I was like, did you seriously book a Christian hip hop artist to come to your church and do this, and then tell me not before I come, right when I get there? I already have a pre-made set. I've already done all this prep work to do this set, and they're like, yeah, you gotta X out like half your set. And I'm like, so you want me to just have them stare at me while I do hip hop? Like, do you know what hip hop is? Like, I was just mind blown. So sometimes people just book things and they don't even know
That's it.
what they booked. They're just like, well, yeah, I liked what I saw. I was like, well, what you saw was what you're telling me I can't do. You know,
right.
like, so now, so I feel you on that, because that happens a lot too. Like, especially when we do church events, we constantly are asking, like, okay, hey, is this a church setting where we can
I just do it.
push those limits?
I just do it. Hey,
you know,
this might be a one and done, but we're gonna get her done. Okay, so real quick, just because Lucy was talking about, kids don't request those Christian songs because they don't know exist or whatever. Yes and no. Okay, yes and no. And yes, there are Christian songs that we feel that hit harder. What I have done in my sets in general, is I mix it in. I'm going to give you some songs that I might do some mashups, right? I do what DJs do, right? I do all that stuff, and then I mix in. So I have I haven't done it for weddings as of late, but back when I was doing some of the school dances, whatever, I have put, a Brandon Pre, a Lecrae, I've put certain tracks that have the certain BPM, the certain vibe or whatever, and I've mixed it in, and people have continued to go in. But guess what? I had to build trust with that audience. And the way that I built trust with them is they understood, oh, you actually get me. All right. One of the events that I do every single year at my old high school, they were asking for some real wild stuff. But this group in particular, compared to years past, was cool. And they said, after everything was done, they're like, hey, I appreciate that you tried to give us as much as you could, knowing you couldn't do all of it. Right. And then I had teachers come up. Hey, I appreciate that you did not let it go as far as they wanted it to. And you also gave us, the teachers, some songs that we wanted to hear during this time. It's like, yes, that's my job. That is one of the hardest things about my job, is I've got to try to somehow impact everybody, but do it in a way that I can build everybody's trust so that I can go any direction, and you're either going to go with me or you're at least not going to be against me, right? You're not going to like a certain song. Hey, it is what it is, right? But as far as like the whole Christian stuff, I as a DJ, I cannot be how, talking about relationships and stuff like that, I cannot be how churches are going to have these great, dope, Christian-only music events if your church does not teach you those songs, those people, those, like, you playing it in the background on a Spotify playlist during their hangout time. I'm sorry, homie, it's not cutting it. It is not helping. Either A, start booking artists and start putting them in and put them in rotation right before it and after. We've done events. I've seen people do that for you, where like in Houston or wherever, like they know we're coming and they're just playing your songs like crazy leading up to it. I love that. Why? Because the kids who don't know who you are, when they hear it, they go, oh, I recognize that, right? So churches, it goes back to the responsibility, like parenting, like discipleship, like the Bible, period. Okay. You're not going to sit here and be mad that the youth pastor can't get your child to get into this word when you don't get into the word with them.
That's facts.
If you don't get in the word with them, you can't be upset when they don't want to go to the word. They've never seen you go to the word for anything. You've never brought up the word for anything other than, hey, what did the pastor say? What did they do? right? So instead of dropping them off and then hoping that they're going to get the word, how about you give them the word? You want your child to know some good music? Stop freaking throwing on, some Christian rap playlist or whatever, and then just hoping that they're going to like it, right? It's helpful. It's helpful to do that. But the only way, like our relationship with Jesus, the only way it becomes our child is if we are discipling them through that. So we have to disciple our kids to appreciate the Christian content that we want them to. So like, for instance, my kids, they hear other songs. Now they've heard it even more since they have access to YouTube and, YouTube Shorts and all that. But they know a lot of the Christian songs that I play at different events or whatever. And my son, they love it, right? They're like, there's certain songs that, ooh, I really like this song, but the only reason why they're like that, and the only reason why they're going to be really dope people to be at these Christian events, is because I've discipled them in that, where they've heard it, I've talked to them, I've asked them. Yeah. You just bring something
Creating
up like
the
that.
culture. Well, and the other thing that comes out in that kind of mindset though too is we're talking about a secular event that we're doing. If we're doing a wedding, it's a secular wedding. All right. They might have Christian morals. They might have done a Christian ceremony. But when we get to that dance floor, they are not about to come out to I Raise My White Flag by Chris Tomlin and get groovy to it. All right. That's not. Now we're talking about service. What did we get paid to do? I don't. Yeah. If I'm in a mechanic shop, I'm not paid to do a Christian tire change on your car, right? Like, I'm just changing your tire. Yep. All right. Now I can do it. I can be a Christian, have Christian morals, and do that, and that's great. And I think you should follow your convictions with whatever it is that you're doing. If you're operating outside of what your convictions are, then again, I think that's sin, and I think you should align yourself with what God's telling you to do. At the same time, I don't expect a Christian DJ who was hired to do a secular event to hardwire Christian things in because that's their morals. Because again, it goes back to these people aren't living that. Yeah. Oh, and that was a big struggle for me. And why am I trying to push a narrative on them that they're not living yet? Instead, let me be who I authentically am, do my job, and do it to the best of my ability. Again, you have your morals. Yeah. You drew your line in the sand. I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. But here's what I am going to do. I'm going to have that line. But I'm also not going to cross the line and force feed my own thing in there. Because that'd be like saying at every wedding we go to, I play all Cole Abell songs. We make sure we mix 3 of my songs in and tell them, well, Cole's an artist. We want you guys to know his music specifically. Yeah. That's not what they paid for. Right. It's not about, when I go and help do a DJing event, my job's just to help you and support you. So I'm on the mic, and I'm not Cole the rapper at that moment. I'm Cole the MC. I'm here to hype up whatever it is that you're playing, to build on what you're doing. Yeah. So I think it's sometimes we can get in this mold too where we feel like we have to Christianese what we're doing. And it's like, no, they're actually going to probably, like, we've had some really great conversations after a wedding with people when we got to tell them, actually, yeah, I'm a minister, or I'm a I'm a CHH artist, or, I DJ a lot of Christian festivals. I've heard you talk about that. And it actually opens this door now to them be like, whoa, like, let's talk about that. Yeah. But because they saw that we were dope doing with the job that we were asked to do. Yep. With integrity, with, you got to plug the name there. Shout out. But with integrity, with still honoring our morals and values. He knows this. Like, if someone's out there twerking on the dance floor, I am definitely not about to go out there just because I'm the MC and join in on that. That, like, I have my I have my morals. At the same time, that's what they came to do. Ain't nobody changing that or stopping that. Yeah. So I'm going to do my job. Just like if you came to, when I was working at Altu, you come to Altu and you start dropping F-bombs left and right, I ain't going to participate. Right. But that's how you were going to do that either way. So afterwards we can talk. I hope to have a great conversation and get to know somebody and build that relationship. But no one's ever been won by force feeding morals and Christianity on top of them. And you've already hit on it. You're being hired for an event. Shout out to people like Bryce G, who
you're creating an event that is specifically only Christian centered.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
There's an
love
avenue
it.
for that too.
Yep.
Right. And I'm not dissing it. I'm all for it. I would go to that event. Like 100%. That's who I am. But I can't make the consumer who's paying for a service.
Right.
I'd rather it be me at a secular event where I am going to draw the line and I am still going to have values and I'm going to be able to have an open door at some point to be able to share with somebody that this is what I do as well, or, you know, over here. Versus the DJ that isn't going to have those morals and is actually going to take you even further down a road that maybe you shouldn't have gone down.
Bro, and you already know this, if I wanted to go ahead and just lower my moral standards or get rid of them altogether, I would be a fantastic DJ to hire.
Well,
I would.
one, from a music selection, but two, you'd also be doing a lot more events.
Oh, clearly.
Like when I tell y'all the amount of events I've seen this man turn down, and sometimes I even scratch my head, and I'm like, bro, like, one, I kind of want the extra little cash, you know. I ain't gonna lie to you, but like, there's times where he's like, nah, that's just not my event. Like that, what they're wanting is not what I want to produce. It's not that's not the DJ that I am.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna lower my standards, whether it be a financial, you know, thing, whether it be the value that they're placing in the wedding. Like the people the ones that crack me up, hey, I want you to DJ my wedding. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds great. Like, yeah, but I don't think anyone's going to dance. And then I already know what Jose's answer is going to be. I was like, yeah, you guys might want to find another DJ.
Yeah.
Like, we are not about to come set up for 8 hours for you to have 3 people. Like, you do your traditional dances, and then we sit here and play music and play bingo for the rest of the night. Like, our job is to get you dancing. And I was like, I'm already setting my DJ and myself up for failure by even recommending your wedding to him, because he's not the DJ just to come and plus play on a Spotify track and go sit down. Like, he is the kind of DJ that expects people to want to dance, to want to participate, to want to be involved. And he's the wrong DJ for you. And that's okay. And he's not hurt or offended either. He's good. Like, that's not his event. If your budget is at a certain rate and I already know where it's at, and I'm like, you're not even close. I mean, you're not even in the ballpark.
Yeah.
I'm not recommending you.
Yeah.
Why? Not because I don't want you to have a good DJ, but this is his standard. This is what he does. He has a high level of expectation, and he brings a lot to the table for that price tag. So it's just that mindset of like, know what you're doing, right? Like if you're gonna be a DJ and you're gonna do secular events, you can't flip the narrative and be like, I'm gonna do secular events, but I'm only gonna play the music I like. Nah, that's not how this works. You know, no matter what profession you're doing, I can't go in and tell my boss, I only like to hire people.
Yeah.
So even though the job requires all these other aspects, I only want to do hiring. All right, but we want you to schedule, we want you to train, we want you to sell. Oh no, like I don't want to do that. Like, so now I'm telling you that you should hire me for an event, but I'm only going to do one of the 6 things that come with that. You know,
right.
Like, so if you're in it, you're either in it and you're doing what's being asked of you. And if they're good with it, cool. Like, that's if people are vibing with it and you're playing Christian, great. That's awesome. But I mean, I've watched you even with secular songs. I watched you transitioned out in 5 seconds because you instantly saw that it killed the vibe. It, just shot everything down, and you're like, nope, we're gonna get him back. And then we like switched to a whole different thing. So it's just something to be said about not feeling the need though to over Christian something. Like it doesn't have to be. They'll know you by your fruits. How are you living? You shouldn't have to force it in to prove it. Yeah. It should. Even with Christian clothing, I shouldn't have to wear a I love Jesus t-shirt for you to know that I love Jesus. You should be able to just see that on my life. And that's one of the things I love about doing things with you, is that no one could ever walk up to you at an event and say that they couldn't guess if you were a Christian or not. You're very open-ended about it. You're very upfront about it. So am I. Like, so it's never hidden. It just doesn't need to show in the body of work that I'm producing. It's going to show in who I am as a person.
Yeah.
So I hope that's conveyed in a way that I'm not dissing if that's what you do, but
Right.
this is kind of that other side of it.
Yeah. Being okay with saying I don't think I'm the insert your skill set that you're looking for. Yeah. Hey, what's up? My brother's still here. So yeah, and my brother, is phenomenal at detailing. Okay, and I'm not even just saying that because I'm his big brother. Like this man puts in work, gets a lot of high end cars, does some regular 9-to-5 type cars, whatever. He does them all, right? And it's fantastic. If you want to pay, I've had people. Same thing that you do with me DJing. I've had people like, oh yeah, your brother, does this, whatever. And immediately, now, to be fair, I don't 100% know his rates and stuff like that, but I also know I ain't gonna just toss him whatever. Yeah, I'm just trying to look for something, possible like 150, to 300 or whatever and all that. Like, and I'm just throwing out numbers. And as soon as they start talking, I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, my brother does detail, but I don't necessarily know if he would do your car. If you want to go to an auto spa right down the road, you are more than welcome to.
You got a vacuum at home?
Bro, plenty of times where I've done that. Now, there's been plenty of times where somebody will say that they, want some kind of discount, whatever, and they're or I don't know, whatever the case may be, but because I know their pockets a little bit, I'm like, I'm guaranteeing you he's going to do the best job that anybody else in this area is going to do. So you can talk finances with him, but I'm telling you.
I've always said that. Like, listen, don't come to me, don't ask me to vouch for you.
Right.
If you want him that bad, you can just message him and you can discuss your budget, because what I do, and for instance, you're not detailing cars with your brother.
Yeah.
But like, I work for you at these events.
Right.
So how dare me to come to you and say like, hey, pay me the same rate and also take less. Yeah. Like because this is my person. Nah. If you want us, you should be like of the mindset of like, no, I want to pay your normal rate because you're the ones I wanted. And then the same manner, if you see the body of work and you're like, oh, he details cars, I see the good work, I'm just gonna message. Can you let him know that I'm interested, and then he can reach out and set up the plan and tell me the price and all that. I should never have to speak on behalf of somebody else's business and say, well, let me see if I can get it a little cheaper for you, or let me see what his prices are. No, you got the Facebook, you got the phone number, you got the link. Why am I doing the job for you?
Yeah.
In hopes that we're gonna get you a discount, in hopes that they'll say yes easier. I've never understood that mindset. If I know you, cool. Like, I'll pass. You've seen me do that. Hey, so and so's got a wedding come up. Here's their email, or they posted here. If you want to reach out to them on Facebook or whatever, here's their stuff. You just want to throw your name in the hat. Cool. Like this is that. But please do. And I've always said this to you. Please do not discount them. They are not my friend like that.
Yeah.
Like anybody who's my friend would never ask me for the discount. They would just be like, "Oh, what's his rate?" So.
Yeah. And I think honestly, a worker's worth their wages. So if you are really wanting to support, go ahead and just pay that is. And if you don't have it, you don't have it, right? And just wait until you possibly have it. So, my brother says, pretty much I've gotten referrals from you, and yeah, I'm not for everyone. I got to eat too, and those $40 washes really turn into $150 worth of work and phone conversations. It gets wild how fast hey, can you give me, it's like social media, right? Because we're way on a tangent now, obviously, but like social media posts be like, can you give me this experience, but I only got $100. And it's like looking at this and I'm like, yo, this is like a $1 billion set right here. Like the lights and the LED screens and all that. You want what now? Right. But, shout out to people who have helped me continue to understand my value, because they've been worth They have seen the worth, they paid for it, and they've paid an additional on top of it. And after I got so many of those, I'm like, hey, there are people who see it. That's it. It's going up, and it's going to stay right there because other people see it for what it is.
The lesson that needs to be learned from this little side tangent.
Wayside tangent.
Research what it is that you want before you vocalize that you want it.
Yeah.
I like so many friends of mine that are getting married. They're like, "Oh, I know you and your buddy, like you guys DJ weddings. Like, would you do mine?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, we'd love to do your wedding. That sounds great." And then I always ask, like, "What's your budget?"
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I don't know. What do DJs normally run?" And I'm like, "That's not what I asked." I said, "What's your budget?" I was like, because I was like, I'm not like, if you tell me your budget's $5,000, great. We're not gonna take your whole $5,000,
Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I'm not trying.
You tell me, hey, I got $5,000 left in my budget. We got to get the DJ with this amount. Awesome, we can talk. Like,
Yep.
You are definitely well within in that range.
Yep.
At the same time, if you tell me my budget's $300, I'm like, yeah, homie, you need to find someone who's got a computer and 2 speakers because you're like most DJs aren't even at that rate. Like,
Right.
Just it doesn't take much to go and research and know what kind of the ballpark range is of low end. Hey, this is someone who's a Spotify, and there's nothing. Please hear me out. There's nothing wrong with being a Spotify DJ. If that's where you're at and that's how you make your money, and people are cool with that, like I got a buddy that he's got DJs that are like that. Cool. Like I'm not dissing that.
Mm-hmm. You
You can charge a lower rate. You can do a lot more quantity over quality.
just don't call yourself a DJ.
Right, because DJing is a whole different thing.
Right.
So, but like it's one of those like things. Like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
But that's why you're paying $500 for it.
Yeah.
Like so, just do the research. Research what it is that you're wanting before you start vocalizing that you want it.
Yeah.
I'm getting new carpet right now for the nursery. I'm not going to say, well, my budget's $800 for carpet, and then walk in and be shell shocked that it's $3,000. I'm gonna go do the research first. What would carpet
Yeah.
kind of cost? And then I'm gonna say, okay, do I have the budget
Right.
to afford this carpet or not? It's backwards thinking in our world now to think I can demand my price first and then say someone's got to give me this service or give me this thing for that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that happens a lot.
Yep.
But research what it is that you're wanting before you vocalize that you want it, so that someone's not wasting their time or you're not making them feel like they're outrageous for having a standard that's actually quite normal and well worth the amount that they're charging.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm all good. Like you said, we don't always have to have the top dollar. Like I'm all good for trying to work within your budget, but please have a number in mind.
And I think if you're honest about your budget, that helps us desire to want to help you more.
Well, and we've talked about it before, where it's like, hey, there's been potentials where it's like, hey, this is a lower cost wedding, so we're both going to be taking home less. Are you good with still taking this on?
Yeah, I think that comes back to transparency off the jump.
Yeah.
Someone comes to you and says, hey, I got this much, and you're like, okay, well, I don't really have anything going on that day. I'm free as far as time goes.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do this. Let me make sure that everyone involved. I've done this on the music side.
Yeah.
When I've had concerts, I'll be like, hey, our normal rate's this, so-and-so's, this is their budget. I love them. I would love to help them out. I'm in either way, knowing that I'm gonna take less.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys in? And if you're not, no, I'm not offended. Like I gotta understand that, but that means I'm gonna have to also change how I'm gonna do the event then too.
Right.
And that's something that can be conveyed as well. Hey, your budget's this. Cool, we're gonna work with that, but you're not gonna be able to get everything. And we've done that before too, where hey, we'll do the reception, but we can't do the ceremony. Like it's just too much to bring all that out. It's a lot of work for us to be taking less.
Oh yeah.
So there is flexibility there. That's what I'm saying. Just research what you want. Have those conversations before you have an expectation first. Like I really can't stand it when people come in, especially in this genre that we're talking about of DJing, where it's like, yeah, I got I'll give you $500 to DJ my wedding, and you're like, dude, that doesn't even pay for my MC. Like
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
we there's no take home in that whatsoever.
Yep.
For you. So it's like, and I don't actually get paid that, but I'm just saying, like, it's such a low margin.
But he would if you would pay more.
That's true. So pay more.
I do kick out. I do kick out.
But that's my point. It's like, just know what, like, I don't go to a car lot and expect to buy a 2024 car with $2,000 in my pocket. All right. Like, figure out what's the reasonable rate or what the ranges are.
Yeah.
And know that I got to at least come with this so I don't sound stupid. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah.
So I don't come off sounding completely out of left field. Like anytime someone said 500 to me, I'm like, have you ever gotten a DJ before? Did you look this up?
Yeah.
Like at all? And then I try to educate people, and they're like, no, I really don't know. I'm like, all right, cool. Hey, here's like someone I know that this is like what I would consider like quantity over quality. Like they just do a lot of weddings, and it's very like nuts and bolts of DJing. And then here's someone I know who's quality over quantity. They are very much more like, I don't really care how many weddings they do, but it's always going to be at this standard.
Yep.
Here's the ranges. Where are you at in this? And they're like, oh, I'm not even in the lowest part. I was like, well, you might want to figure that out then.
Yeah.
You know,
No. Amen. Amen. Any more tangents? No. It's past midnight here. And shout out. Oh man, East Coast in the building, staying all the way until now. Hey, I appreciate you. Thanks for tapping in. And being able to chop it up. It's been a very long time. I used to.
I prepared for this to be late.
This is the first podcast that has gone this long for Mixed Mondays. Normally, and it's funny because I just told my son today, I was like, I've been cutting everything right an hour. so we definitely passed that. But shout out for the gifted sub from Lucid. Appreciate you showing some love. Thank you so much. But yeah, it's been such a long time of doing side tangents and rants and stuff like that in this chatting. Normally it's been very focused, driven on the conversations. But you guys got a chance to see a behind the scenes conversation as to how our conversations go. One, the length. Look at how long we've been going. Two, the all over the place. But yeah, I know
3 is a hot dog, a sandwich. I'm just kidding.
This happens too in there as well. So, all right, y'all. Well, hey, we actually go ahead and wrap this up. Be done. Thanks, bro, for coming out here. I know we don't live really close to one another, about 45 minutes away from one another. So that's a good little hike to be staying up this late and coming out. But I appreciate you coming through. And I love what you're doing with music. I'm getting a chance to hear it like you. With everybody all the first time, finished project. So I would like to pray us out.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
If we could do that, we typically like to pray out, and so we'll go ahead and do that. So, Lord, first and foremost, thank you so much for today. Thank you for the ability to be able to be online, to be a platform, to have a roof over our heads, to even if times are tough and things are going wrong, thank you for our breath that you have given us. Even if we are frustrated with the breath that you have given us and what's going on with our life, we still want to come to you with thanksgiving. Father, we pray right now for anybody and everybody who is dealing with understanding their worth, whether it's with their job, their identity, just as a human and as a believer. Their worth, their overall worth. Father, we pray right now that you would use any of this past conversations that we've had to just reassure them that first off that you love them, that you see them even in their car by themselves when they're broken and defeated and crying out and hurt. Rather they're sitting alone and feeling like that they're literally the only ones that are experiencing what they're experiencing, Father. Lord, I pray right now that no permanent decision is ever made on a temporary situation. And I pray right now also for those who are financially struggling on anything, or maybe they are looking forward to some kind of opportunity, whether it's a job opportunity or whatever that they're hoping would come in. I pray that you would be with them, that you would comfort them, that they would, if they call you Father, that they would learn to trust you in those finances, that even if the bank account looks low, that they can look high unto you, and to know that you are their provider, Father. And so provision doesn't necessarily mean a mansion. Provision does not necessarily mean bills are always paid on time. It can mean different things for different people, Father. And so we pray first and foremost that you would give favor to them, that as they are working diligently and that they are being obedient and giving excellence in all that they say and do to bring you glory, Lord, that you would also turn that blessing to them, Father. And we also pray for those who are dealing with any kind of sickness, any kind of injuries, any kind of hurts, aches, whatever it is, Father, we believe that you are our healer, and how you choose to heal is up to you. Rather it's instantaneously, it's through medication, it's through time, and the way that you've wired our bodies to be able to recover and recuperate, Father. We just pray whatever methods it is, Lord, that you would be with it, and that you would help provide the need and transportations or the rest that may be needed, whatever it is, when it comes to that, Father. And so we pray. I also pray for my brother Cole, for all the life adventures that you've had him going through, and the ups and downs and twists and turns, and learning how to struggle and in a way that would still bring you glory, but be honest with you, Father. I just thank you for our friendship, our relationship, Lord, that you've brought us together, and that it wasn't just for a quick, short season, Father, but it feels like this will go a lifetime, Father. And so I thank you for him and his mindset as to how he wants to give excellence in all that he does, that he wants to bring glory to you and to serve your people. Lord, I pray for continual safe health during the pregnancy process for his wife Ashley, as well as for their child, Father. And so we pray that as preparations happen, Lord, that you would just give comfort and peace to them, that they know that everything's going to be all right, things are going to go smooth, that you're with them, and that you are protecting them. And Lord, we do pray for a healthy baby, Lord, that you would be, as you've been through this process, that you'll continue to be in this process, and even after the child has come, Lord, that you would just look over them, and that you would use Cole and Ashley's relationship and marriage, and how they are a foreshadow of your relationship, Jesus, with your bride, the church, that they would be able to be living examples to their child, as well, and even right now in the womb, the child is receptive to the love that they have for one another, to the way that they speak to one another, to the way that they work through things, and the way that they pray for one another and lean on one another. May this child just be raised in a home that brings glory to you, and all that they say and do. And we pray that the music adventure and different things that you got going on with work, that you would help give them guidance and clarity and a continual peace that surpasses any and all understanding, that though something may not make sense to others, that that Cole would know that it is in your will, and that he's just in his stride with you. So we just pray, the Holy Spirit, that you would just lead him through all of those endeavors. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Yes, sir.
You look like you're about to fall asleep.
Bro, we had our eyes closed for a good minute right there. And my eyes are just like, yeah. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Anybody? I don't even know if anybody's gonna watch this all the way through. I'm gonna have to cut this a clip for sure. Clip it up. All right. Love you. Corazón. Thank you. And appreciate y'all. Till next time. Grace and peace. Love you, bro. Adios. Hey, if you liked any of this content and you found some value in it, make sure that you like, subscribe, and of course, share it. Also, if you're interested in some more, go ahead and check out these videos. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.